We are live.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show that gives you so much more. Only on the Sports Box Network. This is our 2020 NFL pre-draft show. Going to give you a lot of our picks. Going to give you a lot of knowledge today. Got a host of guys tonight. We got Brian, the Ranger Retard here. We got Tony Quigley, Michael Velarde, and Brian Hess will be along later. I am Hamilton Michaeletta. Giving our picks and, rolling through the draft. But first, of course, he's been advertising it. He was great to give us some time tonight. We have a special guest on tonight. He played his collegiate football at San Diego State University. Was drafted in the fourth round What's that?
Fresno State he went to.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say? San Diego State? Sorry. Thanks, Tony. He played his collegiate ball in 1998 at Fresno State University, was drafted in the fourth round in 1998 for the Arizona Cardinals, spent 4 years there, went 6 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, won a Super Bowl in 2003, and spent his last year in Denver in 2008. Let's bring him onto the show. Former NFL running back Michael Pittman Sr. Michael, how are you tonight?
Hey
Michael,
guys,
can you hear us?
I mean, you was close. My brother went to San Diego.
I'm
can you hear me?
sorry. I kept it in the family. So
Don't worry, I'll keep him straight tonight.
That's all right. Yeah, he'll kick me around a little, Michael. So Michael, as a full-time all of my life Buccaneers fan, it's a great pleasure to have you on the show tonight. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. We'll get around to the guys that got some questions for you. So my first, not even it's more taking you back to 1998. Tell us about how it happened for you coming out of college and going to the draft, like the hype for you. Did you have an idea where you were going to go? Did anybody call you? Take us back there a little bit when you get out of school.
All right. Can you guys hear me first?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, going back to 98, man, it seems like it was forever ago, but it was an exciting time for me. Fresno State wasn't a big time school, just like USC or schools like Alabama, things like that. So, coming out of school like Fresno State, you really had to put in work, man, just to get noticed. And I did that my junior and my senior season leading up, to the draft. I guess scouts and NFL teams started to notice, and, leading up to it, it was very just like, it was like an unreal situation for me because it's always like a dream for me to go to the NFL. But the whole process was a good process, a little bit stressful because I was trying to impress everybody, but very nervous. And, when draft came around, I had to wait 95 picks to my name finally got called, but it got called and it was a blessing and ended up playing 11 years and won Super Bowl. So everything worked out the way I would have liked it.
All right. So my next question is, now we went back to 98 and having you coming into the league now. Now, how is it for you as a father watching your son come out of USC as, one of the, better wide receivers in the draft? How much is this hype still there, or is it just more than you can ever imagine about your son?
Yeah, I'm way more excited for my son than I was for myself, going through the process. Because he's my son, he's my kid, and every parent want their child to be successful. And I saw my kid, grow up and how hard he worked to get to this point in his life. His first couple years at USC didn't go the way he would have liked it, and he just continued to work. Though he just continued to work, he kept believing, and I knew he always had the ability, to be a top-notch receiver in the game, the college game. And I knew he had all the talents to take his game to the next level. So with, him, being one of the top receivers going into the draft, like I said, it's just a blessing for me. And I'm more excited for my son than I was for myself. I wish I could be there with him. He's out there in California. I'm in Arizona. But, this coronavirus thing is keeping me away from my son and being with him in the draft. Because I can't risk myself getting sick and bringing it back home to my wife and my other kids. But we're going to FaceTime, and hopefully his names get called, sometime in the first round. If not, hopefully early in the second round sometime.
Yeah, we're going to open up the floor, guys. Go ahead, ask away.
Mike, I just want to. Watcher OJ Mo says Michael Pittman Jr. going to be the steal of the draft. If you remember your draft experience and what that was like, and fast forward to today, and like you said, it's such a weird period in American history. It's a weird draft a little bit because it's just not what we're used to.
Right.
Could you compare, I guess, maybe like the experience that you had versus what your son's going through right now? And if you just like, I guess, is it kind of awkward a little bit because of what you're used to, or no?
Yes, it's real awkward. And I feel bad for not just my son, but for all the young men that's going into the draft. Because leading up to it, you see all the festivities that they hold at the draft, the young men walking on stage and shaking the commissioner's hands and things like that. These young men are not going to get that opportunity. That was the opportunity they was really waiting for to be able to do. And, none of us is going to experience, I believe, a draft like this ever again, unless we have another pandemic like this, next year. But hopefully that's not the case. But I kind of feel bad for those young men. I know it's still going to be a great day, but the process is going to be totally different than what I went through. The process when I went through, everything went smooth. I was at home with my parents. I really didn't want too many people around because going through it, it's like I said, it's kind of nerve wracking. And being in the room, I didn't want like all eyes on me at the time. So I just had my mother and my father there, and like I said, I waited around to the 95th pick to finally hear my name called. But like I said, this process for these young men it's just unfortunate, and I just wish things was different for all of them.
A question coming in from Noah Diebler. Can you describe what it was like playing alongside Mike Allstott?
Oh yeah, Mike was the man. Mike was the man. He was a great teammate. He's a great leader. He was a leader in the running back room. Somebody that I respected, even though I was playing even when I was playing at Arizona, before I even got picked up by the Bucks. I respected Mike and his game. Definitely one of the best all-time fullbacks I believe to ever play. The game. I have nothing but just great words, about Mike. But he definitely, was one of fan favorites, if not still like a fan favorite. But yeah, I had a great time playing with Mike, and I definitely miss him. I haven't seen him probably about like 6 years now. So, but yeah, he was a great guy, man.
Mike, during your career, you put on a lot of good teams, especially that defense in Tampa Bay. Who was your mentor on all your different teams that you were on? Who did you go to? Who was your go-to guy? I'm a coach. Tony's a coach. Who was your guy that you looked up to?
Well, when I first came out, a guy I really looked up to was Larry Sanders. He was there with me at Arizona, and he was one of the running backs who actually welcomed me there. The other guys I actually played with, Adrian Morrell, Mario Bates. We was I ain't gonna say we was tight, but we always competing for the same position with me, myself, Mario, and Adrian. But Larry, he played fullback, and I tried to, maybe ideal my game behind Larry because he's the type of guy that caught a lot of passes. But when the times got frustrating at that time, being a young guy and like a seasoned vet, I always looked at him. I tried to get some advice from him, how I should prepare, what should I expect being like a young guy. What about this rookie Hazen? When is it gonna stop, man? I mean, it was tough because you as a rookie you go through a lot and there's a lot on your plate. And back when I came out, man, the game was even different. It was more of two-a-days, full pads, tackle to the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm out here in Arizona where it's like 110 degrees outside. So, man, I was overwhelmed. I was doing my best trying to make the team, but at the same time, a little bit of shell shock. But Larry was a guy that really kept me straight, kept me on the right path, man, because a couple times what I get myself into, get cursed out by every coach out there. But it was because I was a rookie. But Larry was definitely my go-to in Arizona. When I got to Tampa, I really don't know who I really looked up to. I had guys on the team that I respected big time, guys like Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, Rondé Barber, Sammy Rice. Those guys I respected. like a lot. So I can't say I really looked up to him, but I can say like those guys, like you could try to say I try to match, like their tenacity, what they brought, to the field every single day, if it's practice or even if it's the game. Because like you said, that defense carried us. That was the biggest reason why we even went to the Super Bowl. Was our defense. And those guys, you could say, I look towards them for leadership because, those were our leaders, our defense.
Absolutely.
Tony?
Mike, don't sell yourself short because you did have a heck of a Super Bowl. I think Dexter Jackson might have stole your MVP.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks. That was a tough year for me, really. A lot of people don't know, but I hurt my ankle the first freaking practice of the training camp, and I was never right the whole season. I even tried to lose weight to take pressure off my ankle. Going to the Super Bowl, it was like, man, this is the last game of the season. I'm gonna shoot my ankle up, and I ain't gonna feel it. If I mess it up worse, I have a whole off season to heal. So, but I went out there and had a good game off the line. They blocked great, and everything was history. I think I came in second in the Super Bowl in the MVP voting. But Dexter, he deserved to win, though. That's my guy. So I was happy for Dex, but still, at the time I wanted a Cadillac, man. They was giving out free Cadillacs for the MVP, but I came up a little short.
You always hear players and coaches as they're going to the Super Bowl, that it's just another game. You have to approach it as just another game. Having been through that,
right.
From the outside looking in, I can't imagine if I was in your shoes that I could not treat it like anything more than the biggest game of my career, and I would probably get very nervous. I mean, if you remember how you felt coming into that game, did it feel like just another game, or is it really what it was?
No. Somebody says just another game, they're lying. They are lying. We know this is the biggest game of our lives. And I remember that first drive, everybody in the offensive huddle felt like they was about to pass out. I mean, it was like the adrenaline rush and the butterflies that we had, because it's the Super Bowl. Everybody's watching. We want to win so bad. But it's not really like preparing for another game. It's like when you go into this game, you feel like you have to bring your absolute best, even though each week you have to bring your absolute best. But the environment, just the whole atmosphere of the Super Bowl, it doesn't make it feel like just any other game. But once you get into like a rhythm, like a normal game, then you start to calm down. You start to get into your groove and things like that. That's what happened with our team. At first we came out kind of rocky on offense. We couldn't get a drive sustained, and all of a sudden we got in the rhythm. Guys started to calm down. We got our wind, beneath us, and obviously y'all remember the game. The defense, I believe, scored 3 touchdowns on defense, something like that. Had a ton of interceptions. I had about 124 yards rushing. Like I said, offensive line blocked great, but it worked out perfect for me. I grew up in San Diego. I played that Super Bowl in my hometown. That was a stadium I went to as a kid to watch the Padres. I really couldn't go to a Chargers game. Parents couldn't afford the tickets at the time, but I always watched them on TV. So going back in front of all my high school, elementary friends, man, it was just like, I couldn't, read it up any better than what it was.
Question coming in from Kevin Groman. How tough was that defense in practice?
Oh, man. If we could move on them, we could move on anybody. Man, I mean, Monty had them ready all the time, and it was no joke. Going against guys like Derek Brooks, Sheldon Quarles, Warren Sapp, we had Booger McFarland, Simeon Rice, Rondé, and those guys, they brought it. Dexter Jackson, Dwight Smith, and they wasn't gonna let us, just run the ball, pass the ball on them, and there was a lot of trash talking. There's times where guys wanted to fight. It's hot. We're getting tackled to the ground, and you feel like, hey, man, you have to hit me that hard. Like, why you hit me that hard with teammates? Like what's going on? So, but it was, something, unreal, because I didn't feel like I really arrived, to the NFL until I got to Tampa. And that's no disrespect, to Arizona Cardinals, because I appreciate the coaching staff and all the players I played with there. There's a lot of great players at Arizona. But just the way, Coach Gruden, ran practice, and the way I saw, guys like Derek Brooks, like I said, and Warren Sapp practice. I'm like, wow, these guys are really pros. And I wanted, like I said, to out on my game behind them. But like I said, if we could move on them, we felt like we could have moved the ball on anybody. But it was hard to move the ball on our defense in practice.
Brandon Gazzara joining. Sorry, Michael. Brandon Gazzara joining the Sports Box. Brandon, you have any questions for Michael while he's here?
Yeah, I mean, we know John Gruden has a reputation for being, a tough coach. What was it like playing for him and winning a Super Bowl?
Well, Coach Gruden was a great coach. I mean, his football IQ is just, it's through the ceiling. I mean, the guy is so smart, so intelligent. He's the type of coach that he'll be the first one in and last one to leave. And I was amazed when I first got to Tampa in 2002 and saw all the film that he had. He had film way back when Jerry Rice was a rookie or Joe Montana was a rookie. Like film, like he goes way back, when he was a kid. So it was just the way he, approached the game, the way he prepared us as a team. He's definitely my favorite coach of all time. And there have been times where I and Gruden, bump heads. But I have the ultimate respect, for Coach Gruden. You guys, watching my Monday Night Football, you got the sense of his football IQ, and like I said, he's a great coach. And Oakland or now Las Vegas is definitely fortunate to have him as their head coach.
Yeah, Sean Spellman asked, do you think that Gruden will make the Raiders a legit playoff contender?
I think so. I know it's going to take a couple of years, and that's the way it is when a coach comes in. Most of the time it takes a couple of years. Look at Kyle Shanahan. I know it took him like really 1 year. Well, it's 2 years now. And sometimes you got to bring in your guys to make that team that you're looking for. And I feel like, they're giving Gruden every opportunity. I know they gave him a lot of power there to make all the decisions on his personnel, the guys who he wants, bring in the coaches and everything like that. But I feel like he is the right man to take the Raiders back, to at least the playoffs. I know they haven't been to the playoffs in a long time, but if I was the owner, knowing Gruden the way I do know him, I'll definitely, he'd be one of the first coaches I would hire. Like I said, the guy works so hard and he knows everything about football. And in the game of football, it's like, you prepare, but sometimes things don't work out the way you would like it to work out. And that's been, I believe, Coach Gruden the past few years they coach. But he definitely put some work for his players, and he definitely had us all prepared, leading up to game day.
Gotcha. For Mike?
Yeah, Mike, I got a question too. I mean, you got the upcoming draft. We touched about your son, Michael Jr. being a top prospect, and as far as the receivers go, have you heard anything about what teams he's really been working out for, where he might land, is interest wise?
Well, he had a few, meetings set up, like visits to teams until the coronavirus thing, happened, and all those meetings, was canceled, and that was majority of the players going into this draft. But he talked to almost every single team, leading up to the draft. I know he talked to a couple teams a day, but nobody really has a crystal ball. Like we don't know like what team is going to pick him or where he's going to get selected. We kind of probably have an idea, but those teams are not telling him like, hey, we're going to pick you in the first round, or we're going to pick you in the second round, the third round. But I feel, Michael, with what he brings to the table, is going to go, kind of high in the draft. I mean, he's not going to go early in the draft. I don't believe like early first round, but I could see my son going, late first round, early second round because of what he brings to the table. There's nothing that Michael Jr. can't do. He can play special teams. He's a Pac-12 special team player of the year. He can high point the ball. He's physical. He can block. He has enough speed, to get separation from the DBs. Big enough to, block safety coming down on a run play. I mean, there's so many things that he can do. So whoever gets Michael Jr., I mean, they're going to get a young man who works hard and a young man that basically do everything that you ask him to do.
I think a great spot for him would be Green Bay at 30. I think it'd be a phenomenal spot to be in like a.
Man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, playing with guys like Aaron Rodgers, just like Michael Thomas. You know, he had the privilege to play with guys like Drew Brees. I mean, when you play with, you know, future Hall of Famers, they make their and they, I mean, I guess they make your game better, but they do. They like kind of bring the best in you when you have leaders like, you know, just say Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, you know, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, like those guys. I mean, you want to perform the best you possibly can for those type of leaders. And if Michael goes to Green Bay, that'd probably be like one of the ideal spots I would love him to go to. Because of Aaron Rodgers and getting Michael the ball. And he goes, Aaron Rodgers is going to hold Michael Jr. accountable, even though he holds his own self accountable. But when you play for guys like that, like I said, you know, first ballot Hall of Famers, you know, it bring out the best. And so if it's Green Bay, I'd definitely be happy. But if it's any team that selects my kid, I would just be as much happy. It's a blessing, you know, no matter where he goes for me as he's followed.
So, Michael, we want to thank you again for hopping on with us and giving us a little bit of time, you know, out of your day. I'll leave it with one question we talked about earlier. What do you think of the Buccaneers, Tom Brady and Gronkowski now? This team, you know, legitimately a powerhouse now? Are they ready to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I absolutely do. I mean, being a former player, watching the Bucs lose, I mean, every year, it's kind of frustrating for us. It's very frustrating for us, and you know we root them on every single year, and the outcome is, you know, it's not that good. I don't think you know, last time they've been to the playoffs is when, you know, I was on the team, I believe, and that was 2007. So the drought, you know, it's been a very long drought, but when you see them bringing guys like, you know, Tom Brady, Bruce Gronkowski, I mean, these are first ballot Hall of Fame guys. It just gets, you know, former players and fans excited about, wow, like they are committed to winning. Even though Tom Brady might have just 2 years left in him, but still just the excitement that Tom Brady brings, you know, to the game of football, you know, it's electrifying, man. And if I was still young enough to come out and retire, I might even try to come out and retire and try to play for a guy like Tom Brady, man. And Bruce Gronkowski, I still feel like he's one of the top tight ends in the game. I understand why he retired, because, you know, football, it takes a lot out of you physically. I know he was beat up, but Gronk he's still young, and he's still got plenty in the tank left. So, man, like I said, as a former player, he saw my post. Man, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I mean, I'm willing to try to come back to a couple games and watch him play, man. I'm just so excited. And hopefully, we're allowed to even, you know, come back and watch, because the coronavirus thing, nobody knows how the season's going to go, if they're going to allow fans or not in NFL stadiums. But if they do, I mean, you're definitely going to catch me on the sideline. I'll probably have a Tom Brady jersey on, I don't know, and pom-pom cheering, man. But I'm going to be. So,
Michael, before we let you go, I'm going to thank you for a gift you gave me. I'm going to put it on right now for you. That would be this, baby.
Listen, Mike, I mentioned before we went on air, speaking for Tony as well.
Yeah.
As Cowboys fans, we cannot thank you enough for delaying the Eagles championship many, many years into the future, because I really feel whoever won that NFC title game was going to win the ring that year, and you guys took it home, and Rondé is still running. And just as a funny story, I was actually in New York that day. I'm a Rangers fan. I was going to the game. So we were watching that game in Penn Station. And when Rondé caught that ball, the entire place erupted in just total glee. So thank you for playing.
Hold on. Now I have something.
Yeah, you're welcome. I have still running now, man.
He's the Eagles fans talking.
Hold on, I have something to say now, because the Dallas Cowboys haven't won anything since then.
That's true.
And the Eagles have won something since then.
That's true. I know. It got delayed. It was all right.
So it doesn't matter since then, right?
So, again,
we're even.
Michael, from the Sports Box, we want to thank you for giving us some time. We appreciate it. Best of luck to your son. We'll be watching for him. We'll be letting you know, our opinion where he's going to go. Listen, I want to keep in touch with you. We'll get you back on the show later on. We got to talk Gronk and Brady during the season. So we'll get you back on.
Guys.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Michael. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Okay, you too. All right, bye.
All right.
That was a lot of fun. What a great time.
Yep. Now we get to do the draft. We get to break everything down. We got Brian Gazzara joining the party late. Brandon, how are you?
Fantastic.
Nice
Fabulous.
job.
Fabulous. So we got a lot to get to, guys. So let's
we absolutely do. But first, I feel like we kind of have to talk about the news of the day. Out of nowhere, a little like an RKO out of nowhere, Rob Gronkowski's back in the league.
It's not out of nowhere. There was
like a 15-minute span. He told the team he wants to come back. He wants to get traded to Tampa Bay. He somehow took a physical, got traded to Tampa Bay.
Listen, me and my Bucks connect. Kevin Groman were talking about this 2 weeks ago. He said he was coming back. I said it was a mistake and it happened. I said there was there's some coals to the fire. It wasn't out of nowhere. You know, whatever.
Did he have a
move you'd put on, but.
Did he have a clause in his WWE contract to get out?
I'm sure that was built in, and I'm sure they're not going to,
Okay.
He's
kind of shocked.
He's still the 24/7 champion, though. Maybe Tom Brady's going to give him like a stunner or something and take over
the marketing you can do.
So fucking.
No, I'm really happy. We got some background from Michael Pittman. That was good about his draft and his son and things like that.
I wanted to ask him one more question, Mike, because his other son plays with top 5 potentially pick Justin Herbert. I mean, he got hurt earlier in the season, but his other son actually is a little bit better prospect than Pittman Jr. And I wanted to see what his thoughts on was with Herbert and his other.
I got you. I'm sorry. I thought we were done. My apologies.
Listen, he was great though. He talked plenty and gave us a lot of information. Appreciate it.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. Mike, your thoughts? It's your team. Did you go from 6 to midnight? What happened? Are you excited?
I was shocked. I didn't think he was number one going to come back to the NFL. I mean, I thought the WWE was where his home was going to be the rest of the way. Especially became champion. I was stunned to see the news. At first, I thought it was kind of bogus, but then people started reporting it, and he's obviously, to me, he's an upgrade over Cameron Brate. But like me and Tony were talking earlier, if they use 2 tight end set in it with Arians, I mean, you got Brate and Gronkowski. What could you ask for more? He's got that good tight end in Brate, and he's got his buddy in Gronkowski, working the field. Now you got potentially 4 weapons for Brady out there. So, listen, they're going for broke. Jason Leach is really putting the pedal to the metal. I think he had to do that. If not, he's going to get fired. But I mean, listen, I'm elated a little bit, I guess, knowing that my Bucks are finally making some big moves to try to get to the forefront. I mean, it's exciting when the season starts for me. It'll be that way.
Brandon, as a Brady guy and a Gronk guy, and kind of a Pats guy, I guess, in lieu of that. I know the Eagles had, I get it. Just your thoughts here. My initial reaction to this happening is that if you want to bring the New England culture to Tampa Bay, you want to bring players with you that can help you instill it. It's not exactly, and this is going to be before your time in a sport you don't pay attention to, but Mark Messier going to the Rangers, they brought more guys from that dynasty over time to bring that culture into place. So if you're trying to recreate that Patriot way in Tampa, having a guy like Gronk helps you do that. Your thoughts?
I don't think that is even what it is. I just think I saw some reports, was this sort of a plan by Tom and Gronkowski, where Gronk sits out a year, gets healthy, and then Brady, who said he was kind of made up his mind before the season last year that he was leaving, they decided he's got one more year left, Gronk, on that deal. He'll just come back after a year when Brady's somewhere else, and they'll team back up together, because we know Gronk was unhappy with Belichick. I mean, we knew that in 2017, and then he tried to trade him the following year. They eventually won the Super Bowl, but he wasn't happy. So I don't think it's as much he wants to bring the New England culture as much as he just wants Gronk with him. And I think Gronk obviously wants to be there.
Listen, this was all in the works. I think Gronk knew if he sat out, he knew Brady. Well, Brady obviously said he was going to leave after the year. He knew before the year started he was leaving. Gronk knew, listen, I'm sitting out the year, and wherever Brady goes, I'm following him. He wasn't dumb. He knew what was going to happen.
And I saw Lane Johnson tweeted today, going to have some fun. and kind of pissed me off, that quote. But that is what it is. But I mean, Gronk was not happy there. Couldn't have any fun. Couldn't be himself, and he got worn out and tired of that culture there. And now he's with Tom somewhere else, and they have a good shot to win something.
And I think it may impact their draft pick too. Tony, go ahead.
No, but I think what Brandon said is right, and it's completely them two guys trying to get out of the Patriot way. They were tired of that environment. They you gotta understand, they played their entire career under the thumb of Bill Belichick, and these guys are felt a little bit disrespected as far as the credit they're giving, because Bill Belichick in closed doors he would tell you how great Tom Brady is, but in the public and everything like that, he didn't really, celebrate him as you're supposed to, as far as the greatest of all time. I mean, coaches really should be giving their credit to the players more times than not, and building them up. And guys like they're adults, they're pros. Brady and Gronk, they shouldn't have to be coddled too much, but it does take a little bit, to be able to get out of Belichick's shadow, so to speak, and go have some fun down in Florida. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to win a lot of football games.
Brandon McCarthy made a point here. I mean, Gronk has not been the picture of health the last couple of years in the league.
I saw a couple of reports they want to put him in the slot.
Well, here's the thing, and Dave Cartwright actually has a similar point, is do you think he's in NFL shape? What you hear is that he's been gaining weight. I saw him at WrestleMania. He didn't look like Gronk. I mean, he looked like he had lost a lot.
He's slim.
Yeah. So,
well, he gets on. He'll get back. He'll get in the weight room. He'll get on a cycle. He'll fail a drug test by the end of next year, and he'll already be out of the NFL. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you think about it, by the time he pisses dirty, the season will be over.
It's our boy Tango from All Urban Entertainment. Love those guys. Trade won't matter. Bucks go 8-8 at best. Brady retires after the season, washed up and done. Gronk looks like he's been doing blow for a year. Well, maybe he has.
I was going to say that he's been doing a lot of drugs.
He's doing blowing fucking porn stars.
I think the only thing Gronk's been doing is his smoking hot girlfriend.
Holy shit.
That's it.
I think it's an easy draft for the Bucks this year with the moves they've made. I think you got to go online. You O-line to death. I mean, just put it together to protect Brady.
Well, let's kick it off. So the Bengals are at the number 1 pick.
Next.
Well, it's their first top 3 pick since Carson Palmer in 2001. The last 2 picks they spent on their offensive line. They took Jonah Williams last year, a guard, at 11th. Center Billy Price, 21st in 18. Now, frankly, yes, it's going to be Joe Burrow. This is not
absolutely
trade the pick.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, I don't think that this is a pick that comes without risk. And I know it's sometimes you feel as though this is a slam dunk number 1. He's going to go number 1 because they have a clear need at quarterback. But the difference is, call it what it is, he wasn't this good until this last year. I mean, coming into this year, he was all about 2. So,
he was being blocked.
Which is a sense, a little bit of validity, Brian, because he did get run off the field in Ohio State spring football, couldn't cut it there. I understand where you're coming from in that, but this is 0% risk right here for the Bengals because of 2 things. One is he is the consensus. There's not anybody in America that's going to tell you that Joe Burrow isn't the number 1 quarterback and the number 1 draft pick. So from there's no debate about it. You know what I'm saying? So when Jamarcus Russell mistake happened, everybody was like, what are you doing? Like, there was a huge debate about it. This isn't the debate. It's Joe Burrow. We know he's going to be the quarterback. And if you look at the last 2 drafts, what you mentioned, the Bengals did it the right way. They went offensive line, and now they're ready for their quarterback. So, I think that they're in a position where this is the pick. This is where you got to take this,
This isn't a regular Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
I don't really –
listen,
I kind of agree with that stat, though, because you look back at the Heisman guys. I mean, I'm just saying, I think Joe Burrow is absolutely the pick for the Bengals. When it comes to the Heisman, there hasn't been many Heisman. You look at the last 20 years, there may be 3 guys in the Heisman, 3, maybe 4, that have really made a mark in the NFL, and the other ones have just either fizzled out or just played average at best. But I definitely think Joe Burrow's the pick for Cincinnati. You trade this pick. What do you got? You got to get a ton for this pick. I mean, a ton. And I have no faith that the Bengals can make it up in those picks that they get. I think Joe Burrow's an easy pick. Write it down on a card now and get it ready for the draft.
Tony wants to Peter Bilo. Why did you bring up Jamarcus? Like he's great. That's a pick.
I see you log on, Pete. I'm sorry. I got to take a shot at the Raiders every now and then.
Listen, no, it's not. Go ahead.
I do think there is some risk just in terms of how good Burrow's going to be. I think that he's the pick. He's going to be the number one pick.
I mean, it's not.
When you look at him, the first year he played at LSU, he was not very good. And last year they had 2 stud receivers, a really good back, fantastic defense, really good coaching. They brought in Joe Brady. I think Burrow's going to be really good. I don't know if he's going to be elite, but he's going to be really good. I don't know if he can overcome Cincinnati with that dysfunctional ownership. I don't know if anyone can, unless it's Peyton Manning.
Like Marvin Lewis for how many years?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, Brandon, you have to understand too that LSU, you can't really compare past LSU offenses to what they were dealing with last year because it's night and day. They finally gave into the philosophy is like, listen, we need to score points. Before down there, they weren't, in the Les Miles area and everybody else, they weren't worrying about scoring points. So they changed it. And listen, is he lightning in a bottle? Possibly. But, as far as the Heisman Trophy winner, like who won the Heisman Trophy last year? Anybody know? Kyler Murray. Where was he? The number 1 pick. Year before that, Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah.
Number 1 pick. Then who was the year before that?
Didn't Jameis Winston win the Heisman?
No. Who was the year
did. 2015.
Who was the year before that? The NFL fucking MVP. Well, I'm sorry, not Pat Mahomes. Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, so bang, bang, bang. Then before that, you have Derrick Henry. So show me which one failed recently. It's a little different. Back in the day, you could say that because you had guys like Frazier and Scott Frost running the triple option, and more college sets, Cordell Stewart and all that stuff. But it's a misnomer nowadays. So Zach Middleton, AEE, whatever, needs to do a little more research and modern, join the modern era of football.
Well, I think
they're thinking of the Vince Youngs and the Winstons and guys like that.
Tebow.
Yeah.
Sam Bradford.
I think this is a little bit different scenario though with Burrow too, is because Burrow's going home. He's from Ohio, so this is a kid who grew up liking the Bengals. So here's a situation where a guy's going to a team that's been bad for years and decades, and a kid's got the mental attitude, you know what? This is my team now. They're going to build around me. So that I think he has going for him as well. And this is going to be a total rebuild for the Bengals. They're not 1 player away, and they're not 2 players. They're multi-players away. It's going to take them 3 to 4 years if they do it right to get relevant again. And I think Joe Burrow is the backbone for them.
I don't disagree with that, right? But let's just say it is a rebuild, right? And I asked a question in Outside the Box, and I got into a 40 comment, whatever. If Miami calls and says, we'll give you our 3 picks, 5, 18, and 26 for number 1.
No, I need more.
I don't know.
It's the number 1 overall pick. You get a ton for that pick.
You do. We're talking about 3 number 1s here. That's
a lot of picks.
And you probably get a number 1 next year too.
Again, given the fact that there is some risk here, he's not Andrew Luck. I don't think he's Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck, everybody knew was going to be Andrew Luck. It is not a risk-free pick, is all that I'm saying. That's all.
No, you're right. And if they value guys like Justin Field and Trevor Lawrence and them guys, they might kind of tank. And you still do have Andy Dalton under contract there. So, I mean, the problem is Andy Dalton is good enough that they actually might win a couple games if they put a better surrounding cast around them. So, like, you might not be in this pick next year. So you're in a place where you could get your franchise quarterback for the future. I think you got to take a shot at it. And I really think that's true because what was a couple years ago in the Pat Mahomes draft? The Bengals had Andy Dalton, and instead they wanted who did they take? John Ross. They took John Ross over Patrick Mahomes. Yep. Like those are the types of mistakes that set franchises back. So if you have a mediocre quarterback, just because he's your starting quarterback, I think you have to go. You have to go and try to build it to the best person it can be. Joey Burrow, Carson Palmer. No one would be upset with that though. Carson Palmer before his injury was lighting up.
Peter Byron.
Carson Palmer is going to get home.
Once a hometown boy. Well,
he is, and Byron is in Ohio too, so he probably has a little information over there.
Oh no, this is the pick. I'm not contesting that this is not going to be the pick. All I'm saying is, this is not that you are drafting Andrew Luck. I just how I feel about it. That's all.
You know what, Brian? The only way you could even possibly think of that trade and getting 5, 8, and another pick is that maybe at 5 you get Herbert. But still, I still think you got to go with Burrow at this pick. They need a quarterback, and they got to start building. And you build around a quarterback. You build the pieces to get him better. Case closed. Easy pick. Don't overthink it. Make it Burrow, and that's it.
There's Dave Cartwright. NFL's a QB-driven league. Ultimate team game. I've dumped the first pick for the first.
I think I might too. It's just so much value there, and then you could probably dump that last first round pick that the Dolphins have for something else either too. So I mean, I might, because if you like Tua or Herbert, and if Burrow, obviously we say he's the number one, but if he's not worth that, I mean, I think if that team values Tua and could get him healthy, then it might be worth a shot.
All right, a similarity, because Sarr brings up a good point. So what did the Rams give up to get Goff? I know it was a lot. What did they give up to get him?
Hold on.
Yeah, they did give up a lot to get him. And
first round pick the last 3 years, right?
That's another team. Talk about falling on your face. They haven't had a first overall pick in forever.
In 3 years.
Right. Tennessee set the top selection with its 4th round pick and 6th round pick, which were 113 and 177 to the Rams, for 15 that year, 2 second rounders, 43 and 45, a 3rd rounder, 76, and then a 1st and a 3rd the next year. So it ended up being so the first round to offset. So the net here is a 1st, 2 seconds, and a 3rd.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
They moved up from 15 to 1. So we're talking from 5 to 1.
And it's all coming back to bite him in the ass.
But that Jared Goff draft too, I don't believe that, he was I guess the number one pick, but I don't think it wasn't a clear-cut number one. I mean, there was a lot more debate between whether it's him or Wentz. And I don't think it was overall that great of a QB draft for the number one. It's more, I think that's more like the Mariota Winston draft, where it was kind of like, all right, I guess we'll take one of these guys. Then it was just a clear-cut favorite as Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow separated himself from the other 2 guys.
Where would Jared Goff even be in this quarterback class? I'd probably have him 3 or 4. Depends on Herbert or Goff. I'd probably have Goff 3 only because I've seen him get to a Super Bowl. But I think he'd be the 3rd QB in this draft.
I don't think what Goff showed in the NFL right now, he'd be ahead of the other guys with the potential. I mean, he hasn't shown that he could be a complete quarterback. I think Wentz has shown that he can carry a team a little bit more than Goff has. Goff was more a system of that Rams offense.
No, I don't agree with that.
You think Goff carried that Rams offense?
No, the question up there now. Tua over Burrow. I don't agree with that.
Well, again, coming into the year, I don't think anybody would have thought differently. And that's all I'm saying is, in a draft, I'm the kind of person, I would rather take a faller than a riser, because it feels like I'm buying a stock that's out of favor right now, that I'm getting at a good deal. I don't want to buy a riser that I'm now going to overdraft potentially. I'm not saying,
what are you saying?
All I'm saying is, whenever somebody comes out with these number one picks and it's like, I can't trade this pick. Well, of course you can trade this pick. You can trade any pick.
Now listen, I'm not saying you can't trade the pick. If listen, I kind of agree with it. I think that you can take the three picks for the 1. I agree with that. I'm not saying he's a must number 1 pick. You kind of do talk me into the three picks for the 1.
They might not even be on the table, Mike. I'm just saying theoretically.
I don't know. I don't really know why Miami would do that, though. To be honest, with you, they do so much.
He's going to be very
awful for if Miami did that, it would be a disaster. Giving up what they gave up to get those picks and then losing, they could have had the number 1 pick.
We'll get to Miami. I'm going to land based on Miami myself on that one. But all right. So I mean, it's going to be Joe Burrow. That's not the question. The question is, can I be talked out of trading the pick? And the answer is, I think I definitely can. At 2,
speaking of trading picks,
so the Redskins right now, there's a lot of talk about might they do something. This is their first top 2 pick since 2012. That was RG3. That was a failure. They've gone defensive end or defensive tackle in the first round in each of the last 3 years. They took Montez Sweat last year, Deron Payne the year before, Jonathan Allen the year before that. So they've invested a lot in their defensive line. However, here we are, arguably the best player in the draft. Because I do not think that Joe Burrow is the best player in the draft. I think Chase Young is the best player in the draft, but it's a premium position. If you're Washington, again, I'm not saying we had these discussions, BPA versus a need, things like that. I'm not saying that you don't take, Young if you're here, but I got to tell you, Young is a much better fit in Detroit at 3. And if I'm Washington, I'm not a player away. So do I consider, trading down? Because again, we don't know if Haskins is the real deal. We can have that discussion on a different day. But
does anybody think he is the real deal?
I can tell you that my friend Brant made a comment, thinks that, he is. He said Chase Young's the best in the draft. I do agree. But
Brian, keep those comments up a little bit longer when you flash them up there. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, there you go. So we could actually read them.
Well, I'm just as we're talking, I'm just kind of throwing some stuff out for.
Yeah, just let them up just a couple, like another second longer. That'd be great.
So, if you're Washington, again, I'm not going to disagree with anybody that Chase Young's the best player in the draft, but I just don't know that he's going to be a difference maker for this Redskins team when you have so much else to worry about. To me, I feel this is a great spot, to make a deal. If I were them personally, I would try very, 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 very hard to trade down to at least 3 with Detroit, and then trade down again if I could for a quarterback. Galetta, your thoughts?
I love Chase Young. I think he's going to be a great player. And you got new coach Ron Rivera there who wants to do it his way and have a guy there that he can show the ropes and, learn that defense. But that's a good point, Brian. I wouldn't be opposed to moving down and getting a quarterback either. Although they got Allen, right? They got Allen from Carolina in the offseason.
Yeah, in the trade.
Yeah.
They have Haskins from last year.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get some good picks, you can move down, like you said, to 4 and maybe grab Herbert. I think Herbert's going to go 5 or 6 to the Chargers if he's still around.
Miami doesn't win.
Yeah, I mean that's a guy you can target if you're Washington. But I think for them, I think Chase Young's the pick unless you really get a lot of value for that pick.
I think they take Chase Young or they trade out of it. But I think they have to take Young.
Oh, I agree. No, I think if they keep the pick, he's the pick. But the question becomes, again,
I don't think you can give up on Haskins this quick either. I mean, I know he had a rough year last year, but if you draft the kid that high, you can't give up on him this quick. I mean,
and what we didn't really say he was a bust, but I don't think anybody is confident that he's the real deal. He hasn't shown anything that he's the real deal. So
he looked terrible last year. Yeah, he's got to take a big jump this year.
The issue I have with Haskins, and it's kind of the Sean Kaiser thing with me. His college coach said he wasn't mature enough and ready to go to the NFL. And so then Haskins goes to the NFL after 1 year of playing and clearly was not mature enough for the NFL. I mean, he's taking selfies on the sidelines while Case Keenum has to go in and kneel down. So I think there's a maturity thing there with Haskins that he's clearly not ready for the NFL. And Ron Rivera, a disciplined military guy, I don't know how much he's willing to deal with that. And if I were the Redskins, I'd be looking to upgrade the position. But you're gonna be awful anyway. And with a draft next year with Lawrence and Fields, win 4 games, have a top pick next year, and get one of those other 2 guys.
Kyle Allen's there for a reason.
And you give Haskins a full year as the starter.
Kyle Allen might be there for a reason. So.
And Rivera liked Allen, and he actually showed some spark last year at Carolina. And you know how coaches are with quarterbacks that they didn't draft. I mean,
yep.
Gruden is trying to get his own guy out there, and I mean it's not always an easy situation or a fair deck stack for him.
In regards to a potential Redskins trade, Brant Meeks here says, as a Redskins fan, you need a lot to move. 3 firsts and 2 seconds. Well, I think it depends how far down you go. You're not going to ask that.
I don't know if you're going to get all that.
That's a lot. That's not cheap. I know the cost of living is higher in DC, but that's
if you get multiple other draft picks to go from, let's say, 2 to 5 or even 2 to 6, if you can get a player like, let's say, Isaiah Simmons, what's the difference in Young and Simmons and that Simmons and 2 other draft picks? I don't know that the difference is that large. I think it's something that I would consider to get more capital, to get other premium players at other positions.
But Brandon, you're right. I think you're right with that. If you're getting all that stuff just for a defensive end, but I don't think anybody giving up 3 firsts and 2 seconds is going up there to do anything but get a quarterback.
Right.
That's a quarterback trade. You don't
Yep.
trade for a defensive end for that. That's a quarterback and quarterback only trade.
How would you say? I'll ask Velarde this. How would you say Chase Young compares to Myles Garrett from a few years ago?
Well, he's not going to be swinging helmets at people.
He's probably not. No. But from a talent perspective, again, if Garrett was the clear one that year, I mean, if they were in the same draft, who do you think?
I think they're definitely comparable, Mike.
Young's better.
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, yeah, but
Garrett's more physical, off the charts physically.
Right, Young has more speed.
Young disappeared in some big games though last year too. He did,
he did.
He didn't have a sack the final
That's
3
tough.
games.
That's really tough. I don't know. But we're sitting here talking about him being the number 2 pick. He's really not the number 1 pick right now. So I mean, are you really gonna? I mean, are we talking about him being traded for, or are we talking about him being still the number 2 pick? What are we talking about?
Both, because I'm just saying. Here's what I'm saying. So when Cleveland went, look at the comparisons. When Cleveland went and got Myles Garrett, they still suck ass.
Right.
And the next year they got the number 1 pick again, and they still have not won. They've not been over 500 in a season.
Right.
So it is not as if the defensive end is going to come in and make this impact on you.
Yeah.
It's going to vault you. Like I was having this conversation with Brant recently. I don't see a situation in the foreseeable future where the Redskins aren't in 4th place in this division. I think the Eagles are markedly better. I think the Cowboys are markedly better. I think the Giants have done a nice job of moving up. Like I don't think that the Redskins and the Giants are that close, personally.
Right.
But the Giants are the 3. I think there's a pretty sizable gap to 4. So even if you bring in Chase Young, you're doing this again next year.
Right.
I don't know that that's like I think if you do get a haul for it, I'm again, Brant's asking a lot. I'm saying, to me, if I just go down to 3, if I can convince Detroit that it's worth it because Chase Young fits them perfectly to what they want, I go take an Okudah maybe at 3, and then some other picks I have, I'm better off. I've already addressed my defensive line in the past 3 years. Like at some point, I have to go get something else.
So you want 2 and 3 to swap? You're saying?
That's just
Michigan game, Grant. Chase Young disappeared in the Michigan game, Brant Meeks, by the way.
You can tell me I'm wrong. I'm wrong all the time. So.
Brian, I think you're comparing Chase Young, just the situation, to the wrong guy. I would compare it to Nick Bosa last year. But the difference is the 49ers have Jimmy Garoppolo and a better team, right? Like Nick Bosa comes in and makes a huge difference for that team, and they get to the Super Bowl. And Chase Young would be going to a team, and even if he makes a Nick Bosa-like impact in terms of, sacks and forced fumbles and whatever, they're still not going to win. So that's where you could, you still need a quarterback, maybe. You need wide receiver or, offensive line or a corner. So there's a lot more needs there. But to me, it's like a lot like the Nick Bosa thing.
Tony, I think this question is to you. In which game did Young disappear?
Yeah, we already answered that.
He just listen. Michigan actually, if you look, his production actually lessened a lot, down the final stretch, and they say may or may not help. But the Michigan game, he disappeared. He completely disappeared. They hit him with 2 linemen. They chipped him. They actually focused on him, and they took him out of the game. It was very, very, very obvious. But
I don't know how much he did in that Clemson game either. I don't think he had a sack.
No.
I know.
No, he didn't.
I think you're right. I remember watching that game because I wanted to, yell at Paul because I wanted his team to lose.
So Ohio State, Michigan, big game. Clemson, Ohio State, big game. So, change your profile picture to something other than hockey and then talk to me, Brant Meeks.
Don't attack my hockey fans. Don't do that.
I think that's why he's doing it.
No, he is a legit cat.
I mean, I think if Washington trades this pick, you're going to see either Miami or Detroit move up there. But if you see his team jump up there that you never saw before, well, that's going to be kind of rare to me. I think it's going to be either Miami or Detroit is going to try to make a move for that number 2. But if not, I think Chase Young.
Well, it could be the Chargers. If the
I
don't think so. I think they stay. I think they stay if they stay where they're at.
I think
Go ahead, Mike.
To me, the Chargers make more sense to go up to 2 than Miami does, just based on what Miami did to accumulate other picks and winning games purposely when they could have had a higher pick.
We'll talk.
And that tells me that they believe that they would get their guy at 5, whoever that is.
That's going to be Herbert, I think, at 6.
I'm just saying, for the most part, from what everybody's saying, 1 and 2 are probably most likely to stay put. From what everybody's saying, between 3 and 5 are the ones that are looking to move.
They could rotate, yeah.
So just to Frank DeMayo's point here, Redskins need so much work. DE won't help them too much. I can see Redskins trading out of that pick, and I completely agree. If you're telling me right now that next year's Redskins team is their roster right now and you add Chase Young, I think they're still the 4th place in the division. I think they're still picking high next year. I don't think there's that much of an impact. That's all. I think you could do a lot more personally with it. So next up are the Detroit Lions at 3. And this is, I think, in many respects where the draft starts, because many people believe 1 and 2 is pretty easy to figure out. 5 of the last 6 first-round picks that Detroit has had have been on offense. And you probably didn't need me to tell you that because their defense blows. So maybe that makes sense. You're not putting the resources in. So Detroit sits here at 3. Detroit sits here at a spot where a quarterback needy team might move up, assuming the Redskins take Chase Young at 2. That could be Miami. That could be the Chargers. Velarde.
Yes.
If they stay here, I don't think it's going to be an offensive player. I think that they've made that mistake too many times. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if they stay here, I think, they lost Darius Slay.
Well, they didn't lose him; they gave him away. Right?
They gave him away, but they wanted to do that. I mean, I think they would have to go Okudah here. I mean, he is the best cornerback in the draft. They also got who's the other cornerback that they signed from Atlanta?
Was it Desmond Trufant?
Trufant,
right? The guy from Atlanta. I mean, listen, he's another guy from Ohio State. He's probably he's probably the second best defensive player in the draft, obviously. I think I was watching ESPN today. He had nine defensive knockdowns or whatever it was. So he's all over, guys. Listen, I know he's probably not challenged a lot. Being a D-back from Ohio State, he probably doesn't get thrown on a lot. He's one of the best defensive backs in the game. Listen, is it something that Detroit needs as a playmaker? Yeah. He was talking today. He's like, who do you want to go against? He's like, I want to go against Michael Thomas. I want to be, one of the best DBs in the game. Do I think he wants to go against Michael Thomas right now? Yeah, who knows? But if he wants to go up for the challenge, so be it. But I don't know. Listen, losing Darius Slay to the Eagles, I think it's good for the Eagles. Is it a need for the Lions? I don't know what whatever.
Well, I like Okudah's attitude, though. I mean, that's what you want to do. Yeah. I mean, cornerbacks, defensive backs, you need that swagger that Dion had, that these guys have. You have to be cocky, you have to be confident in yourself, and wanting to face a top in the league. That's a big thing because at Ohio State, they didn't throw his way at all. Yeah. He really wasn't tested, and it's probably for right measure.
Yeah, like I said, he only had like 9 defensive knockdowns. He wasn't even thrown to.
Yeah, exactly.
Never had a penalty last year, which is impressive.
Yeah.
So I think Detroit can be the San Francisco of last year's draft, like a John Lynch move, and I think they can move down to actually where Miami's sitting, let Miami move up to number 3. Miami grabs Tua because I think the Giants are going O-line, and there's them at number 5 again. Detroit's up, and they're going to take Okudah. I think it's like Mike said, it's the best pick. It's Detroit's defense is lacking. That Slay's gone now. They got Trufant. Why not put a guy who's got that swagger? Dion can cover anybody, and is probably the best corner. Is obviously the best corner in the draft. So I think that's a win-win for them. They move down to 5, let Miami move up, and you still take their guy.
Now Detroit does have a lot of interest in Derek Brown.
Detroit allowed the second most yards per game a year ago, over 400. The only other team that did that was Arizona. If they're staying here, this is absolutely a defensive pick. But I will tell you that I don't think it's in their best interest to stay here. I think Patricia's under a lot of pressure. By the way, they allowed the most passing yards of any team in the league last year with Darius Slay, for what that's worth.
That's the reason why he's gone.
and a rookie isn't going to improve that.
Well, I mean, at least you're on the path there. There's talk of, could Detroit take a quarterback here? That would be nuts. That would be insane. He is not the problem. He might not be part of the solution, but he's not the problem. He hasn't been the problem. So,
but you're stuck in mediocrity though, there, Bri. I mean, what if they decide they have a decent deal on the table for Stafford? They're going to be able to cut salary. They have something to get rid of him. I mean, Matt Stafford isn't somebody who you cannot trade because he's never won anything. He hasn't been able to lift Detroit up to any level. So it's never too early when you're in a situation like that to rebuild.
And he's starting to get injuries too, so that's another factor you got to look at long term.
Who would even trade for Matt Stafford? Maybe Jacksonville.
Well, here's the thing, and Brandon, the quarterback.
I don't even know who would trade for him.
The quarterback.
New England. I don't know.
There's more QBs than spots.
True.
I don't necessarily know that the market's that lucrative for him anyway.
Well, you also have some pretty down QBs that are playing now. I mean, Anthony Lynn's love of Tyrod Taylor all of a sudden to try to make him into a starting quarterback. I mean, I don't think anybody would sit there and say Matthew Stafford is better than Tyrod Taylor, but for some reason, Lynn's married to him. I mean, so what the Chargers are doing out there, and it's a little weird. But you have a lot of free agents out there too. And it has dried up as far as the market is. But I think if they could find a taker for him, package him in, if they trade down or whatever. I mean, he's not untouchable.
You can make a move next year quarterback-wise if you're Detroit because you think about it, Stafford's probably one of the top 5 paid quarterbacks in the league, and they really haven't done anything with him at that spot. So, I mean, maybe you look to next year, you grab a quarterback, maybe for bad enough, you get Lawrence. But I think like Brian said, I mean, I thought about it in the beginning, take a quarterback in Detroit, but now they got to go defense. You got to start with defense right now because, like you said, they were bad last year against the pass. I mean, Patricia's a defensive guy. He's got to start building it.
Believe it or not, on an average on a per year basis, Stafford is the 12th highest paid quarterback.
Yeah, because everybody went
behind Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, because everybody went past him now.
Right, because he got a big contract in the beginning, but he's gotten passed for a while now.
Is it fair to say Matt Patricia might be the worst defensive coach in the history of defensive coaches?
He's terrible.
He's won Super Bowls. I mean,
yeah.
As a defensive coordinator in 2017, gave up 41 points to Nick Foles. He's been awful with the Lions for 2 years.
Yeah.
Brady bailed him out.
Yeah, Middleton brings up a point about Stafford hasn't had the best cast around him. He has had decent receivers. They swung it. It was a huge mistake taking Eric Ebron that draft. I think he was a number 12 pick or something like that. Huge mistake there. So I mean, if you look at these guys like Cincinnati, we're talking about top of the draft, taking John Ross over guys like Mahomes and other players. Detroit taking Eric Ebron, like them guys like that. Those positions, if you swing and miss, you set yourself back a while.
Detroit took a tight end last year high in the draft.
Hawkinson,
Pettigrew, they took all them guys.
Yeah, and
just the bust tight ends out of Detroit.
We talk about a lot of times the position invaluable. The receiver position doesn't really help you win too many Super Bowls. Tight end position that hasn't really helped Super Bowls. I mean, you could say what you want about Gronk and Brady, but it's more Brady than Gronk. So if they continue to make the same mistake, you're going to find yourself in a bad situation.
I mean, he did have Megatron, so I mean, he had one of the best wide receivers in the game for a while, so that helped.
But they didn't have anything else around them. Megatron was the number 1 pick of the draft, and they were picking for a reason.
Yeah, their running game's hasn't been good for years. So
no.
When's the last time they had a 1,000-yard rusher? I mean,
Barry Sanders.
Kevin Jones probably.
Regardless, before we get to the 4th pick, regardless of Detroit not having a lot of success, they did get pretty screwed with Barry retiring early and Calvin Johnson retiring. What a bad franchise Mark Bentley left. Oof.
Well, that's who wants to live in Detroit and play in Detroit.
My God.
There you go. The New York Giants at 4. They had 3 number 1s last year. 2 of them were spent on defense. The other was spent number 6 overall to take Daniel Jones. Whether it's a smokescreen or not, it's been reported that they have done their due diligence on Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert. Now, you made a coaching change. The GM is still there. So the GM who took the quarterback is still employed.
They haven't.
I don't believe for a second
They haven't.
that they're going to take Herbert and then
no,
go try Daniel
no
Jones.
possibility they take a quarterback at that spot.
They haven't.
No. That GM will get fired after that pick if they do that. There's no way.
How are you going to hire a head coach and say, hey, listen, we'll let you pick whatever quarterback you want? There's no way.
If you just brought a quarterback in last year who had a decent year, who played okay for under the circumstances, I think he played fine.
Real quick, last Detroit Lions rusher, Kerryon Johnson, just 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Did 1,000 yards? Did he really?
Well, that's under the radar.
He got hurt last year, right?
2 years ago. 2 years ago, 1,000 yards.
And last year he got hurt. Right?
Yeah.
I look at this team.
That'd be the first time probably since Sanders.
They have a lot of needs. So again, for the third straight pick, I don't necessarily think this is not a pick this pick can absolutely be traded down. Again, these quarterback hungry teams, they want to move up, they're willing to do it. Fine. For me, I spoke to a good friend of mine named Jim Schmiedeberg, who last year, a month before the draft, called it dead on. He said they're taking Daniel Jones at 6. They love the kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he knows. His pick was Derek Brown, the defensive tackle out of Auburn. It's a need, but so is everything. I mean, there's very little you can say outside of running back and quarterback that this team doesn't need. Possibly, tight end is another one. I don't know. I
think what the issue is the value, the offensive. They need offensive tackle. That's what they need. They need to protect a young quarterback. But I don't think there's an offensive tackle that grades out to be this pick. So if they're stuck at this pick, Brown is the best player left on the board. I don't think that's what they want to do. So they're really hard pressed to trade back and get Wirfs, I think, who is their number one target.
That's why I have them getting Tristan Wirfs.
If the Dolphins and the Chargers aren't willing to move up to 4, what other teams would be willing to? I don't know how many other teams are really quarterback needy outside of Cincinnati, the Chargers, and the Dolphins, because I think you can say New England, but I don't know if they move up to draft one there, and you can say Jacksonville.
They'll never do that.
Exactly, and you can say Jacksonville, but I think Jacksonville is going to go and just tank for Lawrence next year.
Well, they're not going to do it on purpose. This is going to happen that way because they suck. But
I think the Giants can stand pat and take Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. I mean, here's a guy who you saw in the draft had a 5.1 40 for a lineman. That was pretty good for being as big as he is.
Got a lot of character questions with him though, Mike. A lot of he athletically he's phenomenal and he's the best athletic offensive tackle in the draft. But there's a lot of questions about him. If you don't
go him, then you go like Mike said. Then you go Wirfs out of Iowa. But I mean, I think Becton could be a guy if he cleans up his act a little bit. You got to protect your investment with Jones now. I mean, just like I was clamoring for with Jameis Winston when they drafted him, you draft a quarterback high, you got to protect your investment. You got to start loading up on the offensive lineman, and they need a no tackle. So I think Becton's a good pick from Louisville for them.
That's high.
It would be. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like play wise, if you grade out all these offensive tackles, they do not separate themselves as much head and shoulders. Like Becton is not like head and shoulders the best tackle in the draft, and he has some murder rap on him like La'el Collins did, and falls undrafted or something like that. Wirfs, Becton, Willis, Thomas, these guys they're neck and neck with each other. So, I don't know if you could. That's a huge risk right there because you could fan out on that number 4 pick for a guy who's not really isn't head and shoulders more talented.
What about a guy like Isaiah Simmons? Because I watch Clemson play, and he makes every play. Like every time there's a play made, it's Isaiah Simmons' name being called.
I think they have more of a need, though, for an offensive lineman than they do a linebacker right now.
Clemson cheats. Be careful.
And a lot of people think Simmons can go here. I actually think he might be a faller myself. I just think, again, if he's the Giants' target, I can get him later. I'm taking a deal with the Chargers. And it's not even taking me that much to go there because if that's my target, it's not going to be at 5. And that's where the Giants have a bit of an interesting position here because they can help the Chargers get ahead of Miami. Miami's going to go quarterback. This is not they're going to go quarterback. So if the Giants know trading down with the Chargers are going to get a quarterback, then whoever's going to be there at 4 is going to be there at 6. And then that they can, the Chargers and Giants can help each other. This is not Eli Rivers by any stretch, but it's something where, listen, if you're going to get the same player, what the hell do you care? And it's pretty guaranteed you're going to. Because if they tell you I'm going up to go get Herbert, does anybody think Miami was not going to take 2 at 5? They need a quarterback in this draft. They do. So I think it might be an arbitrage opportunity, personally, for the Giants.
I mean, a lot of people, everybody is saying trade back. It's not that easy, though.
Right. Right.
I mean,
you got to get good value for it. You can't just slide back into a slot and not get good value. You got to get something.
I mean, we're trying to project position with team need with best player for that need, and it's not just us saying trade back. It's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I don't agree. You need to definitely go down that road and see how far you can get.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Gotcha.
So, any other thoughts on the G-Men?
If they stay with the pick, I have it.
Yeah,
if they stay there, I like Becton from Louisville.
Travis Wirfs or
Next up, those Miami Dolphins. They have 3 picks. You may have heard in the first round this year. They spent first-round picks on defense the last 3 years, and one of them has already been traded to Pittsburgh. You may know who he is, Minka Fitzpatrick, who Michael really wanted in that draft a couple of years ago and lost his shit when they didn't get him.
They have the most picks, don't they, Brian? They have the most picks in this draft. 14?
14. That would be like overturning a quarter of your roster. None of their roster is any.
They should be moving all over the place with all those picks. I mean, they're never going to use all those picks.
Yeah, I think they're going to be really active. One of the more active teams in trade here.
Yep.
Is there anybody who's going to convince me they're not taking a quarterback at 5? Is there anybody who's going to tell me this is not going to happen?
No, I think it will happen. I don't think that's too much of a debate. I don't know though if I'm Miami with such a bad team, I might just try to stock with the best talent and wait for quarterback next year. I think they would be in a huge contender. They'd be the number 1 contenders if they don't go quarterback this year. They have Fitzpatrick. They have a kid that I don't think has gotten a fair shot yet in Josh Rosen that actually might be able to do something. So I wouldn't be so, if they didn't love Tua and if they didn't love Herbert or, in any way, shape, or form, I would be inclined to get one more year with the Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen, and then see if they could get Trevor Lawrence next year. Because if you could go stud defensive player, stud offensive tackle, skill position in the first 3 picks here, then just go for next year. I don't think it's a huge mistake. Because seeing what you have with Josh and Fitzpatrick, he's a veteran guy who wins some games, but they'll still be in contention for that number 1 pick.
Quig, I 110% agree with you. The only problem is I think that the media is driving this Tua, Herbert, that if they don't take one of these guys, that it'll be such a failure, such a flop to the organization, the fans, that they screwed up this 3 firsts that they have, that they're going to be like, it's going to be a total waste. That they screwed up this whole entire draft. I think, and I have in my mock that they're taking 2 at 5. And I don't think that they're going to have to trade up to do it. I don't think they're going to have to move to 3. I think they stay at 5. They get him. And it's weird because if he plays the whole year, I think he's the number 1 pick. I think that if him and Burrow,
for sure,
even if they go head to head, I really do think that he is number 1 pick. Not that I think he's better than Burrow. I just think as an Alabama guy, the season probably is different than it was. Alabama probably beats LSU. Who knows? But I think that Tua, with his body of work over the 3 years or the 2.5 years, whatever it is, I think he's still the number 1 pick. And things are different.
Mike, you're making my point about Burrow.
Yeah. I'm just saying that.
But we saw Tua do this for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Injuries, right? So that's why I said Burrow's not a risk-free pick here. So if Miami were to blow it up and say, Cincy, we'll give you 5, 18 and 26 for 1, I think the Bengals have to take that deal. Assuming that they don't, they're at a quarterback here now. Frank says Josh Rosen is trash. I don't know that yet. Frank, you may be right. I'm not disputing that you're right or wrong.
He's not right
in Arizona. He had nothing in Arizona.
We haven't seen him have a legit shot. Tony, you said it. You gave up a second-round pick for this.
There's probably a good reason why he hasn't had a shot.
Well, his mental outlook on things and his attitude. Plus, you had a Arizona team that brought in their coach and his former coach and everything like that. I mean, he got a little bit of shot last year when that Miami team last year before Fitzpatrick was traded and they got rid of what was kind of like a cancerous attitude. That was when Rosen was playing, not afterwards. So once they got that and their mindset changes. Listen, Josh Rosen is a kid who can make every throw on the football field. He's got a little bit of Favre's attitude. If you watch him at all play at LSU and everything like that, he can be a leader, but he's a little bit of a dickhead, so to speak. And but I'm just saying, like, I would try to see what the product is on the field with them a little bit and go with Rosen. That's if they don't love Tua. And I have them picking Tua myself because of some of the stuff Velarde said. And he's more of a sensationalized pick. He's more national commodity. He's going to sell more jerseys than Herbert, and stuff like that.
And I'll buy one.
Herbert actually had 3 or 4 good games. He played good against Auburn. He played good in the big games. I just think that the Chargers, he's a West Coast kid. He's more appealing out in the West Coast. I just think that, who knows? The Chargers don't even have to pick him. But I think it's going to go 5-6. I just think that Miami would be stupid not to take him, to take Tua. I just think that's the way it falls.
I think Rosen probably never should have been out of Arizona. You brought a guy in. This guy's been in 2 systems in 2 years and bad systems. So
once Kingsbury came in, it was a death wish with the number.
I'm just saying though. But you'd bring a guy in the top 10, and then you could do so much more with that pick. I didn't think you had to bring in a quarterback that quick. But in any sense, it's over now. In my own opinion, I think Miami does move up to number. Miami does move up to number 3 and takes Tua. On my board, that's what I have. I think they're in love with Tua. I think you guys said it best when Miami is just feeding the beast, saying we need a quarterback. We want Tua. And they're just locked and loaded for him. And I think Detroit, sitting at number 5, is still going to have a shot to get Okudah, Ohio State. And it's a perfect fit for them because they need defense. They need it bad. So I think Detroit makes out if they move down.
This pick is going to make a big difference. This pick's going to dictate, I think, pick 6, in my opinion. I think whatever it is that Miami does will have an impact here. But I just want to just make one point here. I'm known to say if you're not going to win, lose, especially in the NFL because you get the better draft. Miami cost themselves Joe Burrow by winning a bunch of meaningless games, period.
Yep.
So now we're having the conversation of, well, how much do I have to go give up to go get to 1? When I could have had 1. But now, what'd they go? 4-5-11, 4-12, whatever they went. Bunch of games didn't matter. Nobody cares. Nobody cares you beat the Colts. Nobody cares you beat the Patriots. Nobody cares. What you do is you cost yourself potentially a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow, if that's the way it goes, for a bunch of wins he gives a shit about. That's all.
They ran a fake field goal against the Eagles to win a game. A game that meant absolutely nothing for them. That you can
and the Patriots
say, I get the thing where it's like you don't want to purposely try to lose, but you also don't have to go all out to win a game.
As fans,
you don't run that trick play, you don't win that game, and your players still play just as hard, and they still try to win. So
to me, it's just like it's self-inflicted wound. That's all. So
this spot's a slam dunk. This is
their jerseys are sweet. I like them. The new uniform set is really.
I don't understand everybody's changing their jerseys this year, but.
Their logo, on the other hand, is trash, but the jerseys don't look bad.
I like the logo.
That the logo that we're displaying right now is not the logo, their new logo. Remember that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry. Time out. I'm wrong.
That's the
wrong.
Rams.
You're thinking of Rams.
I'm thinking of Rams.
The Rams changed it. They went back to the old stuff. They got destroyed in social media. So they're back to the old stuff. Mike said it best at this pick. This is a slam dunk. I think Chargers go Justin Herbert. He's still going to be on the board. I think it's a West Coast kid. They've seen a lot of him. He's got good arm strength. A little bit of a social issue outside of football. But you know what? Chargers need a quarterback, and I think this kid's going to have a great arm. I think he's going to be good in the NFL. I think this is the kid they take.
Mike, the problem there, though, when you said the social issue outside of football, it's not outside of football. His introvert and his issue his introvertness, I guess that's how you say it, it hurts him in the locker room. It hurts him with his teammates. It hurts him with everything. And he's trying to work with it. He's not a bad kid at all, but it's not an off the field thing. It actually is a huge question mark.
He's at a great Wonderlic.
Oh, yeah. So did Blaine Gabbert.
So
Vince Young did not.
Justin Herbert decided to come back to school this year, and it's something that I disagreed with. He'll probably be the third quarterback taken off the board.
We just got a lot better looking, by the way.
Yeah, I told you he was going to go off to the side. Yeah.
Last year, I think Herbert would have been the second quarterback taken. I think he probably would have gone to the Giants.
He went back to school. He literally went back to school because he thought he was going to be the number one pick, and that's what everybody thought he was going to be.
And it didn't work out.
Right. Well, he didn't think Joe
Burrow doing what he was doing.
Well, plus Tua got hurt with a bad injury, and he's still going to get drafted before him. So,
correct. Yeah, that's what I mean. He bet on himself, and it really didn't work because I think he would have been the second quarterback taken last year.
Going to be a top 6 pick.
It works. I mean, the money difference is negligible. San Diego, nice place. I mean, he'll be fine. I'm not hurting for the kid. You're not talking about Aaron Rodgers type draft drop here and stuff like that. I mean, going
I would
from
rather play for the Chargers than the Giants right now, though. So in a way, it kind of did work a little.
Unless you're Eli Manning.
Oof.
That's just the exact scenario that bit him. But I really do think that Herbert's fine in his position. I mean, the reason why a lot of these guys care where they drop is the money difference in the salary cap. That's what they really care about. But the drop, from 1 to 6 or 2 to 6 or whatever it was, it's not too bad, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I could see the Texans trading back into the first round. They're going to give up Deshaun Watson for it.
You think?
That's not happening.
They're not going to get that much.
I think Sage Rosenfels is going to be the quarterback next year.
I don't think you can basically count them out for anything. They can do anything. Who the hell saw him? Hopkins getting traded. So
did you see what he said today? He had no interest with no relationship with Bill O'Brien.
Well, that's good. He's only the head coach.
And if you read up about Bill O'Brien, it's not surprising.
The Texans have 7 picks. They could get back into the first round, the end of the first round. I don't think if I'm them, I mortgage a lot and get way into the mid round of the first round. But I think they could get into the first round.
They're going to have 1 pick this year.
With the Chargers, let me pose this question. So last year, they used their first and second round picks on defense both of the last 2 years, right? We said it is it's a buyer's market at quarterback. Okay. Whether you like them or not, and you know how I feel. Cam Newton's out there. Jameis Winston is out there. There are guys that are available to fill a spot. Go get Josh Rosen potentially in a trade. There's a lot of value here if they decide not to go quarterback. And if you have questions about Justin Herbert in the event Tua goes to Miami, which I happen to think Herbert goes to Miami, but that's my opinion. Again, because there's so much value here, do you have to go with a quarterback? Rivers just retired. The roster, for the last couple of years has been very good, but it's not exactly like a contender. They're definitely behind the Chiefs in their division. I think the Broncos are moving up a little bit. The Raiders are the Raiders. But could they be in a position where, again, I think they want to go with Tyrod Taylor. I don't believe that for a second, by the way. I think that is a massive smokescreen. If they could go get a Winston or a Cam, which I think both, whether I like them or not, are upgrades to Tyrod Taylor. I would do that for a year. Use this for something else, and then go figure it out next year, unless I am sold that Tua or Herbert, whoever is there, is my guy.
I don't think that's a smoke screen, to be honest with you, Brian, because here's the thing. The Tyrod Taylor love started at the end of last year. It didn't start in this pre-draft where every coach lies and all the information is bullshit. Lynn was praising Tyrod Taylor last year. So it's kind of weird, and he still had stuck by it in the offseason. So I don't think it's just a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you. I think he's confident if Tyrod Taylor is his quarterback over guys like Cam Newton and Jameis Winston, like you mentioned. I think is his guy. I think he's more of a game manager. If you do bring in a quarterback like Herbert, Tyrod Taylor could take the reins for a year or two.
Yeah, I'd rather have Tyrod Taylor than Cam Newton. It's not even close for me. I don't want that headache. He's not good enough. He's not good enough for that headache, and he's not healthy.
Imagine Cam Newton in LA.
Cam Newton stinks.
He'd have some ugly hair.
Hold on.
He already does.
Mike, I don't disagree with you, but he's better than Tyrod Taylor.
Well, yeah, me and you are probably better than Tyrod Taylor.
That's fine. But if I'm LA, right? If I'm the Chargers here, I'm going into a new stadium. That might be the one reason why I need a new face in my franchise, and I'm not going to dispute that. Nobody shows up anyway. But I could go get a quarterback to hold me over to see how I do. Again, up until a little bit ago, Jameis Winston was going back to Tampa. So, again, if I use this pick for something else and go free agent, if I'm wrong, I do it again next year. I just don't think that that's like this insane proposition. I do think they go with a quarterback personally, but not insane not to.
I think Herbert's the pick. Done.
Like, he didn't be in New Jersey this year.
This is their old one. I think we went back to the colors.
Are you going to get a Brady jersey or a Gronk jersey?
I have a white jersey coming. I ordered it, so he'll probably get hurt once I start.
Brady?
No, white. Linebacker.
Devin White, yeah.
Devin White.
All right,
45. Yep.
Peace.
The Carolina Panthers are up at 7. New coach, new quarterback, a lot in Carolina. They're a team that likes they went defense last year with Brian Burns. They signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 3-year deal, so I don't think this is going to be a quarterback draft for them. They could go a bunch of different directions. Tony, your thoughts on Carolina, the direction they might go?
Well, who we have left here? Let me see. We got the quarterbacks just went off the board.
We got Simmons out there. That's who I like.
Yeah, Isaiah Simmons is who I have.
I think he's the pick at linebacker. They need defense.
Kuechly's replacement.
Yeah.
They just lose Kuechly. You know,
slide him right in there. Yep.
Simmons plays everywhere. He's a little bit different style than Kuechly, but he's all over the field. He's even played cornerback at his time in Clemson too. So he's going to be running around and chasing all the weapons that Tampa Bay has, and he'll trying to get to Matt Ryan and them guys in that offensive loaded.
Drew Brees.
He's that modern day linebacker too, right? He can cover. He's athletic. He can. He's not just a middle linebacker who can just attack downhill on the run game. He brings you that modern day athleticism.
It's called the Viper position. You see a lot in some of the college formats. It's like maybe like a Ronnie Lott, Sean Taylor kind of a huge safety kind of deal that kind of plays the linebacker. Teams right now play so much nickel and dime coverage. And matchups and stuff like that. Simmons really does fit a great, modern day mold of a defensive player. Great in Carolina.
It's like the Weapon X, Brian Dawkins.
I have a stat on him that I wrote down up here. Out of 70 career targets, Simmons has forced 22 incompletions and picked off 4 others. That's crazy for a linebacker. That's their defensive back numbers. So this guy's a real deal.
Simmons again has been mocked as high as 4, to the Giants. So you can't rule that out.
And no one will be surprised.
I think the way this all falls, I also agree that he goes here to Carolina in my mock. And there's a lot of needs that they have, but I think if a guy like him can fall to you, again, if he falls past Carolina, I think he has a chance to really fall. But I do think
if he falls past Carolina, I think Arizona really has to take a really hard look for him too, because horrible defensively last year, can't play against pass. They need an impact player on defense, and they would be. Arizona obviously needs the offensive line to hit there, but a player like Simmons, who's might be top 2 or 3, 4 in the draft as far as talent wise, they might have to look at him at 9 or 10. I'm sorry, was that 8? They're at 8. We're at 8 now.
They're at the 7th.
I think there's no way. I think there's no way Simmons falls beyond number 9, Jacksonville.
Right.
Arizona makes a ton of sense too, but there's no way he gets beyond 9, in my opinion.
Well, we'll get to Jacksonville, but yeah, Arizona's up at 8. They had the first overall pick in the draft last year and decided to get. They actually they are the first in NFL history to go 2 quarterbacks in 2 first rounds in consecutive years. They have a lot of needs there. They just made a massive deal to go get a wide receiver for their quarterback in DeAndre Hopkins. So to me, I think they could go a couple different ways with this. I don't think they need to go running back. I know they got rid of David Johnson, but I think that
no. Kenyon Drake last year.
Kenyon Drake has a talented kid in a good situation. I think he can be fine. This could be an offensive tackle spot. I think they go offensive or defensive line. I have them taking Jedrick Willis, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. And I think that they could protect their quarterback a little bit with that. I think that's important because he's going to need a lot of time. Kid can run around, but he needs the time to be able to see receivers and go.
I got him taking an offensive tackle as well, Andrew Thomas out of Georgia.
That's who I have as well. Yeah, Andrew Thomas. He's really flew up the board too. I mean, the kid really makes every block there is, and I think if the Cardinals aren't tempted by Simmons if he's still there, offensive line flat out is what they need to do.
I agree. Offensive line is the way to go. You got to protect your investment. Go back to my theory with putting Murray out there. I got Tristan Wirfs going from Iowa, going there. So he's still on the board, and that's where I have him going.
I mean, I still think they got hosed by wasting a first-round pick and then not using it. We can have that discussion if it made sense. I mean, you brought the coach in to do it. It is what it is at this point. He didn't disappoint.
You could have traded out of one and got so much for your team at that point instead of getting Murray.
Their first mistake was bringing in Kingsbury to begin with, I think. He won absolutely nothing at the college level besides wear some cool sunglasses. Like what propelled him for being an offensive coordinator on a college system, a failed head coach at Texas Tech. He's an offensive coordinator in a college system, and all of a sudden he's the head coach of the NFL. Where's the progression in that?
You must have one hell of an interview.
Well, that's what happened. Well, that's what happens when Patrick Mahomes wins the MVP. and that was his head coach. But yeah, I agree. He was certainly not
the year after, but
to get an NFL coaching job.
Yeah. So
Jaguars at 9. Here's a fun stat about the Jaguars. They have made a top 10 selection in every draft except one since 2008.
You could probably say that about the Bucs too. Bucs have been in the top 10 for a while now. So
they have 2 picks this year, 9 and 20.
Which draft was that?
It was the 1 year after they went to the title game. They picked
was that the Marquise Lee draft?
That was the game they blew against the Patriots.
Where did Marquise Lee go that year?
Marquise Lee was like a 9 pick.
That's what I'm thinking. Was that a top 10?
Marquise Lee. What are you talking
Was that a top 10 pick? He just got released.
Receiver at USC.
Is that a top 10 pick?
It might have been, Mike. I think you're right. I think it might have been. If it wasn't, it was mid first round.
Marquise Lee was their 39th pick in his draft year.
That's right.
Okay, second round.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Are any of those
pretty
top
high in
10
that
picks
draft
from the Jaguars still currently on the roster?
That's a good question. Probably
Who did draft last year?
Heck, Rusty, Jesus.
Josh Allen.
Well, they got Gardner Minshew, so.
Well, I'm going to look up Jaguars draft history and tell you who these first-round picks were, and we'll see. I mean,
Jalen Ramsey's with the Rams.
Josh Allen in 19, Taven Bryan in 18, Fournette in 17. He's on the way out.
Taven Bryan is the answer then.
Taven Bryan was 29th overall.
Yeah, so he was he was the one that wasn't the top 10 pick.
Fournette was 4th. He's on the way out. Jalen Ramsey was 5th. He's on the way out. Dante Fowler was 3rd. He's out. Blake Bortles, 3rd overall pick. He sucks.
Blake Bortles, what a wasted pick that was.
Luke Jokic, 2nd overall. That didn't work out. Justin Blackmon's getting high somewhere, 5th overall pick. Blake Bortles for 40 other teams.
Listen to these picks.
Tyson Alualu, 10th overall. That was a disaster. Eugene Monroe in 09 went 8th overall. That was a disaster.
It's a bad franchise. I mean,
Derek Harvey, a defensive end. Don't know what the hell happened to him. It's not
too small.
I talk a lot about draft picks and why they're so important, but you can't screw them up. You can't do what they've done and just miss.
You got to hit one of them. I mean,
it's like Cleveland.
Shad Khan.
But here's the thing too. We're talking about the Blake Bortles pick. We're all like, oh, he was horrible. Everybody thought he was horrible and it was a bad pick at the time too.
Yeah.
No one thought that was a good pick, and they're still fucking it up.
And they drafted Leonard Fournette because they had way too much faith in Blake Bortles, and they could have had Deshaun Watson or even Patrick Mahomes. I think Watson was higher touted coming out and was a higher prospect, but to me, Watson and Mahomes made much more sense than Leonard Fournette at number 4, especially taking a running back.
Absolutely, and that's what I go to say about when I was talking about if you see a quarterback that you think is a franchise quarterback that you have way graded, and they should have had him way graded higher than Blake Bortles, you have to take him. If not, you fuck your franchise up.
Here's what it is, though.
Fournette,
and we know this. Owners, GMs, they'll go down with the ship. They don't want to be wrong about the guy that they picked. So they didn't want to be wrong on Bortles. They wanted to see if they could do a lot and give him some weapons, this, that, and the third. And it's costly because they could have had a quarterback there. Absolutely. And they waited. Now they got this. Minshew was what, like a 6th round pick or something? He wasn't very high.
Yeah, 6th round.
So
he had a good senior year, but I mean, that's really he had a great senior year.
But look at the offense that he was in. He was in Mike Leach's offense up there. I mean, everybody has a great senior year.
They throw the ball like crazy up there, yeah.
All right, Jacksonville's pick at 9.
I happen to agree with Ed Wright. I think it's Kinlaw. I think it's a defensive tackle from South Carolina. It's their top need, I feel, at defensive tackle, assuming they're going to keep the quarterback. They should go sign a quarterback. They're not going to. But have you seen Yannick Ngakoue on Twitter?
He's popping off. He wants out of there.
That's been fun. It's how to make friends with people.
I have Derek Brown at this pick.
That's who I have as well, Mike. I like that pick from Auburn. Yep.
Yeah, if he's still left there, I think. Yeah, I mean, Derek Brown is the pick over Kinlaw.
Yep.
Well, I have Brown up higher than this.
Yeah, me too. I actually have Okudah falling here.
Okay. You think
or they surprise somebody and take C.J. Henderson, because I think defensive back right now is a bigger need, than defensive line. But if Derek Brown is still there, he would be the pick over a defensive back.
I think they move down personally, but I think if they have the pick, I think it's Henderson. Either way, whether they move down or not, I think the 9 pick is C.J. Henderson from Florida.
Up number 10.
Got to replace Bouye and Ramsey.
I mean, yeah, but depends what their needs are. Cleveland did not have a pick last year. It went to the Giants for Odell Beckham. They picked first overall the 2 years prior, as has been well documented. So the Browns come in the recipient of a lot of expectations that went unfulfilled. I know Brandon will pat himself on the back for that one. Odell Beckham may be traded. We don't know. It's not really working out. Baker regressed tremendously, I felt, last year. I mean, listen, I'm not saying I thought they were going to do anything grand if they got into the playoffs, but I felt they could win their division because I think the division was very good. I underrated the Ravens tremendously, as it turns out. I was right about the Bengals, and the Steelers were, you lose your quarterback. It kind of is what it is. Velarde, Cleveland, I think, is at a turning point here because if they're ever going to win anything, they better start doing it quickly. You're changing coaches every other year. The quarterback, I don't know what to make of him right now. Honestly, I didn't like the pick when they made it. Obviously, and we remember we were laughing at it the day that it happened. So, just what's your read here? I mean, where is this team going other than spinning their wheels?
I think they have to go with an offensive tackle. I think they're going to take kid from Alabama, Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle. I mean, listen, they got to go with somebody up front. I think that they're done skill position. Well, not done, but listen, they got Landry, they got Beckham, they got Kareem Hunt. They got their guys off the street that they need to get their superstars on offense. They got to go get somebody up front, some young guys to, build around. Like I said, how many more guys are they going to get to patch up on offense? They got to start somewhere, right? So you got to get an offensive tackle or somebody to build up front. I think, at least.
Yeah,
no, I think you're dead on, Mike. I have Wills there too.
I have Thomas there. I think we had,
That's who I got.
Andrew
Andrew Thomas from
flipped
Georgia.
8 and 10, but yeah.
So I think
they got a right tackle in Jack Conklin. They need a left tackle.
The stat that threw me on Thomas was that he's had 1,075 pass blocking snaps, and he's only allowed 37 pressures. So, I mean, there's a guy who can play. I mean, it's close between him and Wills. Don't get me wrong with Alabama. I mean, he's no slouch. I just got Thomas a little bit better from Georgia. So.
Here's a crazy thing with Cleveland too, right? So 2 years ago, they take Baker Mayfield at number 1. Okay. Last year, they drafted 0 offensive linemen. It's just common sense. I think the only way Cleveland turns this around is if they move the team, because it's still the mistake by the league. It worked for the Ravens. Move Cleveland out, go somewhere else, get another team in there in 4 years. And in 3 years, Cleveland wins the Super Bowl.
I think we're all in agreement that regardless of the name, this is an offensive tackle spot. I have Andrew Thomas here from Georgia. I have Wills a little higher than this. So
yeah.
I think at some point you have to address your biggest needs. You don't need the sexy picks, okay? So
sexy picks don't win in the NFL, to be honest with you.
That was your microphone with some feedback. I'll open it up. Nah, it was Quigley. I'll open it. I just muted. I'll open up. How
about now, bud?
That actually worked. We'll figure it out. Figure it out. That's not good.
Hey, that's a quick fix.
Log in. The Jets are up next at 11. And here's another team with a lot of needs, in my personal opinion. They took Quinnen Williams last year, 3rd overall, who I felt was the best player in that draft. They have picked in the top 6 in 5 of the last 6 years. All of those picks were defensive except for Sam Darnold.
Terrible.
So,
well, Jamal Adams.
Well, and that's a guy, again, there's some smoke that they might look trade him to Dallas or somewhere else. Jerry Jones has said, we're not going to go do that. We'll see. You're right.
Joe Douglas going to re-sign him. Or keep him, I should say.
All right, I'm going to bring Quig back on. Let's see if he sounds a little better.
Mic check.
Much better. Good.
There you go.
We're on to the Jets. Brandon, you have at least a moderate heart erection for Sam Darnold. So I'll let you Jets pick.
Moderate.
It's like, it's like a halfway there at least.
Who has a fucking hard on for him? Oof.
Where do you think they go here with pick 11?
That's taking a likeness then. I think they go wide receiver. They lost Robbie Anderson. They need some weapons. I think they go Henry Ruggs.
Wow. A little surprising there.
Mike's raising his hand.
Mike, go ahead.
I think they go Jerry Jeudy.
And I got CD Lamb.
Oh.
I got Javon Kinlaw going here. Defense.
I haven't gone higher than this. I think it'd be a good pick. I think they go offensive tackle. And I think that if Tristan Wirfs is here, I think he's easily the pick. Now, I know some people have him higher than here. Wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like Mekhi Becton here if Wirfs is gone. At some point, I think it's more important to protect your quarterback and your 3rd overall pick than it is for a flashy, sexy guy on the outside. That's just me. So they haven't really done a whole lot of investments in that offensive line. I think now might be a good time to do it. I think it's a deep receiver draft. You can go get a guy later.
Can I preface it by saying I think they trade for Trent Williams? But I think they trade a 2nd or a 3rd round pick for Trent Williams. And that addresses that need, and then they go out and take Henry Ruggs.
This saga's got to end.
Or a wide receiver. And it could be, it could be Lamb, it could be Jeudy, but I think Ruggs is the fit there. Not that I think Ruggs is the best receiver in the draft, just that he's the fit there.
He has to have time to throw the ball. I don't care who's catching it from you. And again, there are a lot of talented guys, and you can get them later, in my opinion. I think that's what the depth in this draft is clearly at wide receiver. You're not going to get an offensive tackle of this caliber in round 2. You're just not. So, I just think I think it's almost a slam dunk pick. If the big offensive tackles are there, and I think at least 1 or 2 will be, I think it's an easy pick for them to make. Personally. Any last thoughts on the JETS?
Well, I think we have a little disagreement on who's the best receiver. Brandon said he's fit, but I think it's either CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. I think they can't go wrong with that. Tackle is a need, but I don't think that any of the tackles that'll be left will grade out as good as the best wide receiver out there. So, but either way, tackle, wide receiver, they're not going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Next up, let me be the first to note them as the Las Vegas Raiders. They are up with pick 12. This is their first of 2 picks in this draft. They're also picking at 19. They made 3 first-round picks last year. 2 of them were on defense. I think there's a long-term hole at quarterback, but I don't know that they fill it here. I think this is a team, given the fact that they are moving to a new stadium, to a new city, they do need a sexy pick. And in my opinion, this is where I see CeeDee Lamb.
Absolutely. Brian, I couldn't agree with you more. The kid from Oklahoma, he could run down the field. That's a sexy pick for them, wide receiver.
Mike Ross, there's 2 of us. You have to specify.
It doesn't matter. He's got a fucking headband on. Like he looked like he dropped acid for fucking 20 minutes. Jesus Christ. He's got how ugly, dude. Next time, put a picture of your fucking girl in your profile picture because the fucking dog's even uglier. I'm guessing you're talking about Brian anyway. Well, listen. As far as the Raiders pick, whoever's left, Lamb or Jeudy, whichever one you have, if you have somebody going, I think it's either or. I mean, I think that's what they want. It's Gruden,
Mayock went on record as saying wide receiver is their need, and they will take one of them. So
I think CeeDee Lamb's a slam dunk. So.
Sorry, they never really replaced Amari Cooper once they sent him out. So it does make sense for that.
Hey,
I haven't read this yet. Hold on.
He's asking if we would still make the Cooper trade. He's a Bears fan. The Raiders end up with Jacobs at 19 in this draft, and he loves the Mac trade. I didn't want the Cooper trade to be done to begin with. I don't trade first round picks for wide receivers, especially not this close to their need to go get paid. So I would not have made the Amari Cooper trade to begin with. So I will stick with that.
Jacobs, who's reporting for?
Josh Jacobs.
Oh, Josh. Well, I mean, obviously that wouldn't have been the Cowboys pick, there. I mean, hindsight's 2020. Trading that first for Amari didn't win us anything. So I mean, you could still kind of build around it. I mean, I could take it or leave it, to be honest with you. If they never made it, that's fine. I mean, I might rather have that pick back, but. How I feel about our offense.
And it's a good point here by Peter. They tried to replace that spot, but AB's crazy.
They also did try in free agency this year too. Nelson Aguilar, but
and Jason Witten.
Good luck with that.
Jason Witten. Listen, I said this. Old people love Vegas. The penny slots, they love him. That's why he's there.
Jason Witten will catch more balls than Nelson Aguilar there.
All right.
Not at all.
Aguilar can't catch coronavirus.
Derek Waller's there, and he will not be put in the back seat by Jason Witten.
That's one catch. More. Nelson Aguilar is making 1/10. I just found this is interesting. 1/10 of the money this year with the Raiders than he did last year with the Eagles.
He earned every penny of that pay cut too.
Are we all in agreement here? It's wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Best available receiver.
Yep.
13 is the first pick for the defending NFC champions, the San Francisco 49ers. This is the pick they got from the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for what the hell's his name? Why is it escaping me? DeForest Buckner. Took Nick Bosa last year, which I thought was a phenomenal pick for them. Again, if you're not going to win, lose. They went from the second overall pick in the draft to the Super Bowl. They have needs. It's the first time in 4 years they don't have a top 9 pick. And there's 2 picks this year, again, that I mentioned. Brandon, Where do you see San Francisco going, coming off a Super Bowl, headed into the dreaded Super Bowl hangover year?
Well, they traded Buckner, who plays defensive tackle, and I think Derek Brown falls a little bit just based upon other team needs. Not that I think he's the 13th best player. I just think he falls a little bit, and I think that's who they get. I think he's the best player available there by a mile, and I think they replaced DeForest Buckner with the best player on the board.
They're talking about trading both of their picks out of the first round. So, I mean, even if they do take this pick, I have them taking C.J. Henderson, cornerback out of Florida. I don't know if they'll do it.
I have as well. C.J. Henderson.
Mike?
If they stay there, which I agree with Mike, I think they're going to move out. Lynch has done a great job with moving them around in the first round and getting what he wants to get. But if they do stay at the pick, I am getting Judy because I still have Judy on my board, Jerry Judy from Alabama. But I think wide receiver is the move for the Niners.
Tank says Ruggs for the Niners, 3 receivers in a row. I have Henry Ruggs myself. I think that, the Super Bowl taught us one thing is there is no faith Jimmy G on that team. Kyle Shanahan would not let him throw anything in the Super Bowl. And when he had to, he couldn't do it. And part of that is probably because they don't really like their weapons on the outside. And I have Ruggs a little higher than Judy personally in this draft. I think Ruggs is a nice pick here to add to the offense at a spot where, it's interesting though. And Ed Wright makes the pick I'm about to make is they don't have a second, they don't have a third, they don't have a fourth. So
that's why I said that
spot potentially to trade.
I think they could trade both picks actually, 13 and 31 or whatever they have. 30, whatever they have.
It depends what prices are being paid. Again, it's not going to be the quarterback spots. So, what can you really get here and who's looking to move up to take the spots?
Indianapolis?
It's just difficult for them to take a So their first round pick last year was Bosa, right? Then they went receiver, didn't they? Hurd and Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel was productive. Now you're going to take another receiver. I mean, that's a lot of draft capital invested in a position that does not win you football games. It helps, but they're a run-first team. A run-first team is going to take that many receivers in the top end of the draft. It doesn't make sense.
I think it opens up your run game a little bit here, and I don't necessarily think there's a whole lot more needs on this team. I mean, they're an enviable position. That roster is very good. So
listen, trading down makes sense, but for the sake of this exercise, it's not really what we're trying to do here. So I have them taking C.J. Henderson because I think that shores up something that they were a little bit exposed. Their corners, they do need help. They started their second corner across from Sherman last season at the end of the year was a walk-on, so to speak, free agent off the street. So, I mean, C.J. Henderson has a grade. Some have him neck and neck with Jeffrey Okudah. I think that makes more sense for a defensive first team than a running first team. Just let me draft a receiver in the first 2 rounds every couple of years. It doesn't make sense.
What if just throwing a hypothetical out here? What if Indianapolis tries to get back into that 13 slot and they give up? I don't even know where they're picking at right now offhand, and says, "Hey, you know what? We're going to take Jordan Love in this spot, even though it might be high." They try and get back into that spot.
The Colts for a quarterback?
Yeah, because they have Rivers 1 year there.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. And I agree with you. To me, though, when you go sign Phillip Rivers, I don't think you're making future picks. I think you're going to take a pick that's going to help you right now, because your window, whatever window you think you have with this quarterback, is extremely small. What's the best I can do with it? Excuse me. So, to me, I don't think they're even looking that far out. I think they're looking here.
I think that the Colts, if you look at the Colts, they're actually a pretty good football team. They have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. And Brissett, was a little, they were competitive. I mean, they weren't a bad football team. Adding Rivers, like Brian said, is win now. And I don't know if Jordan Love is worth trading up for the 13th pick for, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's probably not. I don't even think he's going to be a first round pick.
I don't have him either. I don't have him in the first round.
He might be a late first round pick.
Well, it's somebody trading back in the first round to grab him.
Yeah.
We might be having this conversation when they pick 30th, Mike.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. And yeah, Deebo Samuel was a second-round pick, like I said, Ed, right? You're a 49ers fan. You should know that.
Moving on. One of us has a very rooted interest, obviously, in this pick at number 14, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Interesting team. Obviously, they've been busy in the offseason. Signed Brady, traded for Gronk. You wouldn't know it because their defense isn't very good, but they spent 3 of their last 4 number ones on the defensive side of the ball with a bunch of guys that Mike Galletta can't stand. So it's funny that I think that their biggest need is defensive tackle because they just drafted one a couple of years ago, famously. Took Devin White last year. Michael, your take here on, frankly, what looks like a 2-year window for this team to contend, because after that, I don't think they're really worried about it. They're trying to win right now with this quarterback, his chosen tight end, and the weapons they have on the outside signed while they have them. Your take on where they go with 14?
I think if you're a Bucs fan, you're screaming for offensive line help now because they've lost a couple guys in the offseason. You got to protect Brady now. I mean, he's getting older. He's not the Brady of 5-6 years ago, but he's a lot smarter than Winston. So I think you got to protect your investment. I mean, it's probably wishful thinking here, but I'm hoping Jedrick Wills from Alabama could still be there. I think that's a perfect slot for them to pick him up to start rebuilding that line. But if he's not there, I mean, you can go Josh Jones. I hear all this stuff and I read all this stuff about the Bucs going like Brian said, defensive tackle, saying Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina. I mean, you keep building up the defensive line, If you want to go a secondary guy, I'm okay with that. But I think the more need is the offensive line. I definitely think an offensive lineman is the way to go. I
think if he slides, the pick here is Mekhi Becton. I think that if he slides, and dude, it would be a steal if you can get him here as your left tackle and he would protect Brady for the next 2 years. That'd be a steal.
I'd be okay if he can get down that slot. Yeah.
I mean, that's who I had too, Mike. And like I noticed earlier, I think he was your first offensive tackle off the board. So yeah, I have Beckham here as well. I think his character issues slides him down to the 7th spot, but his talent kind of outweighs everything like that. I think he's a 4th lineman coming off the board, but he's a great fit for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, you definitely got to go O-line. I think you got to go O-line first pick. I think I'm not going to have the episode that I had last year with the Vita Vea pick, or the year before with the Vita Vea pick, but I need an offensive lineman for Brady. So
I think this team is the beneficiary of Becton falling. And I think when you start getting to pick 14, then, why not? And it fills your primary need, in my opinion. You need to protect a Tom Brady who, whatever mobility he had, he doesn't really have it that much anymore. So you need to really work on that offensive line. And they really haven't the last couple of years. They focused on other things because they had a guy who could move around a little bit more, frankly.
Brandon, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I think Becton's the pick too. You got to protect Brady, obviously, and they had the 7th best offensive line in the league last year, which I thought was interesting. So it's not a glaring need. Like, you look at the Jets or the Browns, the offensive lines are terrible. This isn't a terrible offensive line, but I think this pick, if a guy like Becton falls, I don't think you can pass that up.
You did lose 2 guys off the line in the free agency, so that's. I mean, they still got Ali Marpet, and I believe Carter's on the left tackle, but they need a guard, they need a tackle spot, so that's what they're looking to do.
Mike, do you think that they do a lot of 2 tight end sets next year? Like, are they going to try to run Gronk and
Brady? I thought that last year, but Arians didn't really do that. He had OJ Howard blocking and he had Brady catching the ball. I mean,
but Brady, they already came to say this is Brady's offense. They're not running Arians' book. Arian pretty much is going to take. He's going to have. He's going to be like almost like a kicker. He's going to be so no hands on in this offense. He's going to be learning.
He's going to give him the playbook. He's going to give Brady the playbook and tell him, here, do what you want.
Well, Brady's going to bring the playbook and say, this is what I'm going to do what I want. And, he has a resume to do it.
Well, when they drafted O.J. Howard, I thought that they were going definitely 2 tight end sets with Brady and O.J. Howard. But, to me, listen, I know O.J. Howard's on his way out now with this.
That was a different coach, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying with O.J. Howard there now and Gronk coming in, O.J. Howard's really on his way out. It's a shame because I think the kid had potential. He just never really fit in to what they were doing. So, but you could probably get a decent pick for him. I mean, he could be a trade day pick, and they move back into a certain round.
Draft too.
Why is O.J. Howard on the way out?
Well, because he was on the way out last year. They were trying to move him a little bit, and they really couldn't find what they were looking for with him. But now with the addition of Gronk, I don't think the Bucs team is going to hold on to three tight ends at the start of the season. We're going to have Howard, Brayton, and Gronk at the same time. I think O.J. Howard was getting shopped, and then with the addition of Gronk, that just kind of sealed his fate. Now they're definitely going to get rid of him now.
Yeah, but couldn't you see them trying to run the Patriots offense that Tom Brady ran with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski? If his strength is down the middle, the Bucs don't have a guy who's going to play as James White, right? They don't have that kind of running back. I don't think that the people that are there.
Ron Jones is not that guy.
No, I don't see that either. So if you're not going to have that running back, if you're not going to have a wide receiver, like you could you run Brait potentially as a slot guy, or even that, like, I don't remember how.
No, that would be O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard,
yeah.
You know, O.J. Howard's a little bit more size. I'm thinking of like a smaller guy, but if they run their twin tower tight ends down the middle of the field, I think that's interesting. So I don't know.
O.J. Howard lost less receptions last year. He lost more receptions last year to Brait year. So yeah, but I don't think Arians is big on him to begin with.
Yeah, Arians does not throw to the tight end. That offense has never been catered to a tight end. So you can't really – you have to look more of, like Brian said, with the Hernandez, Gronkowski, you know, those kind of guys that actually ran the Brady offense. You can't – O.J. Howard's issue last year was mental. It was all mental. He had mental lapses on the field. He wasn't running the wrong rights. He wasn't prepared. I mean, he's a typical guy. He has a ton of talent, but when the ball isn't coming his way, he didn't really want to be involved. He's still a pretty good blocker. The
other side of that is though when Arians,
if he's not in the right spot with Brady.
When Arians was in Arizona, he really didn't have a good tight end to throw to anyway. So.
I think it's more of an offensive thing than just a tight end. It's just how he doesn't value the position. And Brandon, to your point though, as far as O.J. Howard, listen, guys run their routes a little bit harder when they know that the ball might get there.
That's true. That is true.
And it's just a fact. They concentrate a little more when you got 6 rings looking at you than when you got Jameis Winston who just threw 4 picks telling you to do something. I mean, it's a completely different mindset. And I just think O.J. Howard has so much talent naturally that you give him like almost like a piece of clay to Tom Brady and let him, use that offense.
I just don't see them in a position to be giving up offensive talent right now. Like, I just like why? Like you got Tom Brady. You're going to start reducing the amount of weapons that you have. Like, yeah, you may not use them maybe to their full capacity, but you're going to use them. I mean, what are you going to get? Some cap space you're not going to use?
I just don't see 3 tight ends. I just don't see 3 tight ends on this team at one time.
You have right now. You don't even know what you have in Gronkowski.
Right.
He hasn't even made it through a fucking training camp. I think just hurry up and cutting a tight end when like we said earlier in the show, it looks like Gronk's been on a coke bender for fucking 4 months. I mean, and it's true. He doesn't have his weight. He doesn't look like he's in NFL shape. So before you go get rid of one of your highly drafted tight ends, I think you might want to temper down and shipping them out.
I agree, but like I said, O.J. Howard was trying to get shipped out last year, but.
Well, it's different. It's different with Tom Brady.
The equation has changed.
Yeah, 100%.
Jameis Winston, he's not going to question what Arians is saying. Tom Brady will run whatever the hell he wants to run. If anything, we always say, Peyton Manning, change the offense. Aaron Rodgers would call his own plays. I don't necessarily know how much. Tom Brady might just do what he wants. And
there's been tons of reports saying he is.
Yeah. So I don't know.
He just signed his buddy. He just signed Gronkowski. He's doing what he wants.
Who's running? This is Tom Brady's show for 2 years. Bruce is just there.
Yeah,
sure. Tom Brady, why not? Anyway.
He's playing that Gary Kubiak role.
Right. So we'll move up to the Denver Broncos at 15. This, I think, is kind of an interesting pick because I think it could go a bunch of different directions. They think they have their quarterback in Drew Lock, but they thought that before with Paxton Lynch. They thought that before with Brock Osweiler. This has been a rotation like a turnstile. Basically, as Velarde can say, this is previously Philadelphia Flyers goaltending at the quarterback position for the Denver Broncos. Last year, they took Noah Fant 20th overall. I think their biggest need, frankly, is a wide receiver. In a wide receiver heavy draft.
I like Drew Lock there. I think he's going to do all right.
Everybody thought Paxton Lynch would too. Remember the Cowboys wanted to go get Paxton Lynch. Didn't work out. Hey, Brock Osweiler didn't work out. So,
I do think that I have Henry Ruggs going there.
Myself as well. We've been on the same page a lot of these picks, Mike.
I know, bud. It's good. Look at that.
To your point with Drew Lock, I think that I think they do like him. And whether he's going to be great or not, I just don't think that he's had the opportunity yet. So give him a full training camp as the man and see what happens. I mean, and I think adding Ruggs, complimentary of a guy like Cortland Sutton and Deshaun, Deshaun Hamilton in the slot who kind of came on a little bit. I think that would be a nice weapon. And with Fant in there, who's a pass catching tight end, there's no reason for Lock to fail because the offensive line is solid, and they have. Well, I guess they have 3 running backs. I don't understand the Melvin Gordon signing, but that's a whole nother picture.
Yeah,
they're definitely not going to running back. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I have CeeDee Lamb here. Just by the way, I had the receivers going.
Right.
But you can't go wrong with. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those 3 guys: Lamb, Judy, Ruggs. However you slot them. I just based on the way I had them going. I felt like Ruggs was a fit with the Jets, but yeah, I think they go receiver here as well.
I agree, and I have Judy here, so I think we're all on the same page here. It's all about getting more weapons for Drew Lock. I mean, the defense is still very good. It might not be what it was when they won the Super Bowl, but you still have a lot of those pieces there. I really think Von Miller, whatever. I mean, he's not maybe the player he used to be. I don't know. I just think that everything is there for them to be able to still be the defense that they were. And I think the defense helped them last year too. So it wasn't a matter of, they finally got a quarterback, so to speak. We'll see if he can actually, continue. And I love Bradley Chubb from a couple of years ago. So you have those bookend pass rushers.
Yeah. It's tough though to go all in on your defense when you're in the same division as Kansas City. I mean, your defense needs to be 86 Bears. 86 Giants, 85 Bears style. If you think you're just going to slow down Kansas City with a defensive game, it's not going to happen.
Mike, your thoughts on Denver? We also they're going wide receiver. No matter.
I think they're going wide receiver too. I still have Henry Ruggs on my board from Alabama. I think he's a speedster guy. He can get in there 4.27 speed. It's a good fit. You need something for Drew Lock. I mean, he's your guy.
Yeah.
You got to give him a weapon. So wide receiver is a perfect fit for them.
Who'd you say it's hard?
I have Judy here.
Judy. Oh, so we all have wide receivers. Whoever the best receiver out of the 3 who's left.
Like Brandon said, it just depends how we have them falling because that's
in that offense. I really like Ruggs' fit in that offense.
That's Quigley again. Your mic.
Let's get fired.
Or getting shot at. Hold on. Let me say. Still doing it.
I'm going to dive under the desk in a minute.
I don't even have any sound going on.
There you go.
Sounds like we're going to outer space.
When you go back and watch this back in the Denver Broncos.
Something I'll never fucking do.
Why not? Please. We're halfway through the first round as the Atlanta Falcons come up at pick 16. And all you hear about Atlanta is how they're going to be the most aggressive team. They're going to go up and get something. No one seems to know what the hell what. But they're the team that apparently is going to go be super aggressive. They went offensive line with their top 2 picks last year, which is not much of a surprise because they're trying to protect Matt Ryan. Velarde.
Yes.
They're in a division with Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and I guess now with Teddy Bridgewater, whatever. Curious to see where you think they go for a team that, they have not gotten over 28-3. They really haven't. They've been a shell of themselves since that game, and Brandon's got that smirk on his face. But, they got rid of Freeman. They brought in Todd Gurley, whatever. What are your thoughts on Atlanta? And again, me personally, I think they're moving up. I don't think they make the 16th pick. But
like I'm confused with this pick because, like I said, I think they're moving up. I think things are going to happen. I think they kind of have to go defense. I have them with cornerback AJ Terrell from Clemson. I mean, I kind of had to stick somebody there. So that's who I went with. It was kind of like my hands were tied and I didn't really know who to put there. So I kind of took a guess, really. That's kind of who I went with. So I was really kind of confused with that pick because, like you said, there's been a lot of rumblings that they're going to move up. So I really was kind of confused of who they would take there.
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, I think they move up, to the 9 pick with Jacksonville for Henderson. But I think this pick is Javon Kinlaw, whether or not
That's why I went DB, because I figured Henderson or him at that spot.
Yeah.
I have Henderson off my board, and I also went Kinlaw here. I think he's the 1A defensive tackle in the draft. I mean, but right behind Brown, and it's good value here for him.
I have Henderson still on the board, so I'm putting CJ Henderson there from Florida.
Mike, I do as well. I have them taking Henderson here again. Their defense has been just an absolute dumpster fire the last couple of years, and it shouldn't be with that coaching staff that's there. Again, if you may think Henderson goes before this, I do have him falling. I don't think cornerback is a huge need for some of the teams ahead of them. So could somebody jump them? Yeah, maybe. Could they trade up? Most likely. I think that's what you hear. But I think if he's on the board at 16, he'll be an Atlanta Falcon.
Well, they lost Trufant too, so they got to put somebody back there too.
They lost the Super Bowl. They're up 25 points.
Yeah, they did. That was bad. That was real bad. That was a nightmare.
Pick number 17.
Hey, there we go. That.
Dallas Cowboys.
There's a star.
Dreading this pick.
Oh, God. The Dallas Cowboys had no first-round pick last year because of the Amari Cooper trade. They went defense with their first pick each of the last 3 seasons. Tony, I think this is where we take the spotlight. So I don't know what to make of them. We were talking earlier today. I don't know if they're more likely to trade up or trade down or make the pick. I have no idea. Is this going to be in a package for Jamal Adams? I don't know. He definitely would fill a need because I think their biggest needs in their secondary at safety.
It is. Now,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel that they're trading down. I don't think they're going to make the move for the first round for Adams. I don't think they're staying here. The defensive ends that are left, that's a huge need. The secondary is a huge need. Everybody and their mother has McKinley slotted here, and if McKinley is here as a safety, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But they did make some signings in their secondary that they might, and you still have the need with defense end because they're really depending on Randy Gregory to do something, which I have no confidence in that. But the thing is too is the reason why I think they're moving down is the people that they're looking at are not really slotted in this spot. McKinney is supposed to be in the 20s, and they're doing a ton. Let me tell you, they're doing a ton of research on the kid from Penn State, the defensive end. Whatever you're, yeah. So they're doing it for whatever reason. They're really targeting this kid here. I don't think that it's going to. I don't think that's the reason why I don't think that they're staying here. So I think that I don't think that they stay here. But if they do stay here, you're looking at either probably Chason from LSU or McKinney, the safety from Alabama. But I really think that they're trading down and they're taking Moss from Penn State at some point, or if McKinney's still available.
The Athletic Cowboys respondents both said they take Jerry Jeudy here, and I have no goddamn idea why.
Jesus Christ.
Any receiver you put there is going to be the number 3. Are you telling me that I'm going to draft a wide receiver 3 in the first round? I just gave Cooper $100 motherfucking million.
That's if they go receiver here. I think that's absolutely a horrible mistake. They're fine at receiver.
Star power.
It is not at all what I think they should do. I personally think it's Clavon Chason from LSU for the exact reason that you would.
That's who I have.
That's who I have as well.
Marcus Lawrence last year got double teamed, and Robert Quinn did a very nice job picking up the slack. He's now going to Chicago. You have a major hole at your other defensive end. And you can't tell me we're going to be counting on Aldon Smith or Randy Gregory to fill that void. And if they do, it's for a short period of time because Randy Gregory is an idiot and Nolan Smith's coming off a 3 year or 4 years away from the league. So I believe they've done a lot of research on Chason. I think he's a guy that they're very comfortable with. I think it's a much better pick than anything on the offense. I mean, again, offensively, there was talk of obviously Cesar Ruiz because Frederick retired. I don't think that their offensive line. There's no elite tight end, even though I think they've needed one for the longest time. I don't think that's where they go. Just wipe the offense right off the table. I don't think there's anybody there that they're going to go take. So go to the defensive side of the ball. I agree with you that if they go down to the secondary, I wouldn't be upset with that at all. But I think, again, your biggest need right now is getting somebody on the opposite side of DeMarcus Lawrence, one that's cost controlled for a matter of 4 to 5 years as well. I think it's an easy pick here. You know, they blew it up on Taco Charlton trying to fit it, and he got drafted.
But here, let's talk their defense now, though, because it is a different defense than last year. Mike Nolan is now there, and they're actually talking about doing a more of a hybrid 3-4, 4-3 and really mixing it up. So if they do decide to go to that 3-4, a guy like Yugari Moss, whatever the fuck his name is a little bit bigger than Chason. So that's why I think that they're trading down a little bit. And that's why I think they've been doing so much diligence with him because he's about 20-some pounds heavier than him. He could play both that 4-3 DN and he could actually play the 3-4 DN. So I think they might be looking for a little bit more versatility.
I want what he's smoking.
Yeah, now Xavier's just trying to trigger me. That's what he's trying to do right now. He knows that. He knows I can't agree with that. So he's
I think Dallas moves down.
I respect that.
Yeah,
I think Dallas moves down a bit. But I think who I have them taking is Cesar Ruiz just because of the Frederick.
not at 17 though. They can't do that.
No, I think they move down though. I think they move down and take them. Maybe collect another 2 or another 3. But
if they can, that'd be good. I mean, this would be a good spot for somebody looking for Jordan Love, maybe if they're desperate on a quarterback, or maybe somebody trying to trade up back in the first round. But like you say, it's hard to predict trading back, But yeah, I would love them to trade back and get one of the 3 players I mentioned earlier, including Ruiz too.
Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't taken the kid from LSU too.
Yep, that's who I have. That's the perfect fit for them, I think, with the edge guy.
I hope he breaks both his legs in the first game and dies.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Thanks, bud.
That's bad karma, Mike. Don't say that.
All good.
The Miami Dolphins make their second pick of the first round here at pick 18. This was the pick they got for Minkah Fitzpatrick, who went to Pittsburgh last year in a trade. I think we all think they're going to go quarterback earlier in the draft. So
Brian, who is that? Who is that quarterback?
Who?
Who is that guy you just said from Miami?
Minkah Fitzpatrick?
Okay. I'm just checking. I thought I heard his name a while ago with talk, but I was wrong.
He wasn't taken. They traded down and then they missed it by 1 pick.
Yeah.
So assuming they go quarterback earlier in the draft, it's a team that's going to need to make these 3 first-round picks, personally. Velarde, your thoughts on – they went D-tackle last year. It's not as if – this roster is not very good, so you have a lot of holes to fill. If quarterback's been taken, where do you think that they go?
Offensive tackle.
Yep.
Austin Jackson.
Yep, I agree.
USC.
That's what I got there. Austin Jackson.
I got Josh Jones from Houston still being available, so I'm penciling him in there.
I think if Jones gets drafted ahead of Austin Jackson, it'd be a really big shock.
Yeah, I think so too.
And Ezra Cleveland as well. I don't know if Jones surpasses either of them guys. But I would. I know Miami does like Ezra Cleveland, the kid from Boise State, the offensive tackle. But I think Jackson grades out a little bit higher than him, and I think that's the pick.
I have Jones falling. I don't even have him on my first round.
I have them going Chason from LSU.
Yeah. I just don't think he gets past Dallas. If he's there, I could see it for sure because that is a need for them. But as of right now, that's the direction that I think that they go. And again, they're going to have some flexibility, and it depends what they're going to do. They're going to trade in and out. They have the picks. We don't know if they're going to make this pick. If they're going to trade up, they're going to trade down. But they have the flexibility to do whatever they want because they have so many picks in this draft. So we'll see which way they go. Second pick of the night for the Las Vegas Raiders. This is the last pick, I believe, from the Khalil Mack trade with the Bears. again, 3 first-round picks last year for the Raiders. It was Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Abram. What are if they go receiver early? I think we all think that they do. Mike Galetta, your thoughts on where the Raiders go?
I think you got to look to go to defense, and you got to go to the cornerback position. And Christian Fulton's still out there from LSU. That's a guy I had penciled in. Listen, the Raiders got to get better on defense. They just are a team that they can score. I don't know about loads, but they can allow just as much on defense, and they got to build it up. And that's a Gruden team that they're built on defense. So I think they go cornerback, and like I said, Christian Fulton is the guy I have from LSU.
This is where I have McKinney going.
Safety, okay.
Vegas.
Ready?
I have them going linebacker, Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. I think he fits a huge need for them. He's a guy who makes plays all over the field, and I think that's a great way to replace Mac. Jalen Hurts. Wow, Jalen Hurts. That would be surprising.
I don't know about that.
I don't think he has a first-round grade at all.
Nah.
I don't think so either. I thought it was very interesting, actually, the Cowboys were talking to him.
They talk to everybody.
That's just
yep.
20th overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars, their second pick of the first round. And
this is where I think the Gross Matos kids go. I think he goes and takes Ngakwe's spot.
Yeah, I have Chase on here too, so it's just flip-flop of whoever. I think whoever's left out of those two, to be honest with you.
I have actually Xavier McKinney from Alabama going here, safety. I mean, this team loves to build up their secondary and play defense. So I think that's a pick that they could use there.
Could if you're Jacksonville, right? If you don't go quarterback at 9, could this be a Jordan Love selection? Could this be some? I mean, I they say they're committed to.
I don't think so.
I don't
know. I don't think so either.
You don't think
I think they had to ride out Minshew mania as it is, and see what they got there. I mean, they invested a lot in Foles and then got rid of him. And for this guy, they got to see what they have. If he sucks, at least he'll be popular, And then they'll be in the cover line for stakes.
Got a great mustache. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I really would love. I mean, I like I said, I had Chase on here, but I would love to hear them say Justin Jefferson. Just so the Eagles fans, flip their shit. But that would be just a little smirk on my face. But I can't really get too high on that because the Cowboys picked before them and they might fuck it up too. So who knows?
Well, as we go into the Eagles pick here.
ELGLES Eagles.
Are you spelling it like
No, it's EAGLEL Eagles.
Eagles, sorry.
EL, as we've all been told to believe. I am bringing on a special guest here.
Oh boy.
Chris Wilhelm has come on for the Eagles selection. Chris,
my thunder. That's nice.
Short but special. So hold on, let me get this straight. You have Velarde sit here for fucking 18 picks. And then you bring on the default green room host.
We're all talking Eagles, but I wanted to give Chris the opportunity as the host of the green room. It's an Eagle-centric show.
All right, Velarde, if you'd like to start, go ahead, bud.
Eagles at 22, at 21.
Let's see how horrible this is.
Chris, are you all right with me talking first?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
If I actually feel like no, you know what? Go ahead, bud. I let you talk first. Go ahead. I don't want to steal your thunder. You are the host of the green room. Go ahead.
Well, listen, Willie, I'll set you up here. The offense, they went offense with their top pick in 4 of the last 5 seasons. They took Andre Dillard last year at 22nd overall. The word on the street and what you've been telling me for the past couple of months is they desperately need wide receiver help. You and I have discussed why I think they need other things on their defense, but that seems to be the direction people think they're going to go. Your thoughts on the Eagles at 21?
Who did you guys have going so far throughout the day?
You're the guy at the fantasy draft that's going to pick every player that was already taken, right? Is that what's going on here?
No, I want the best player available. I don't care what the position is except quarterback. So if that's on the offensive line, at the running back position, at the wide receiver position, that's what I want. I don't know who you guys took before. Based on a couple of the conversations that I've had with the players that are going to be there, I'm actually more interested in them moving out of the first round and capturing a couple picks in the second round and possibly for the next year, because I think they're going to miss out on the top 3 receivers outside of CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and the other kid, can't even remember the freaking name, Henry Ruggs. I'm not a fan of the other one, so I'm not taking Justin Jefferson at 21. I don't think he's one of the best players available. I'd rather trade the pick.
For the sake of this exercise, that's not an option. So you have to make a pick.
Because we were told we can't trade pick.
You're adding so many variables, it's hard.
Yeah, I think your thinking is right, though, Willie. I think your thinking is right. They want to trade out of the pick, right? Because there's more depth.
And that's why I'll defer to Mike Velarde on making the official pick for the sports box, since I wasn't here for the first 20. So
right. So all of those guys were taken. All of those guys were taken already. So in my mock, Jefferson is the pick at 21 that I have, and probably Quig too, I would assume.
And that's who I have as well, Justin Jefferson there.
Because all 3 guys went already. So
I have Jefferson as well.
So, Willie, if you find yourself in this spot, you'd pass on Jefferson, and who would you actually take, though?
It really just depends on who's still on the board. So if I have an offensive lineman, if it's the center from Michigan, if it's one of the outside
Camden, the center from Camden.
Yes. If I have any of these guys on my board, I think that they're all much better players than Justin Jefferson. So I understand that the wide receiver position is a glaring need for the Eagles, but I'm always going to be in the camp that if you take, the best player available, you will be able to find a spot for him on the field so he can contribute for your team. So that's who I'm looking to take in this draft or trade out. But I know we weren't given that option. So.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question. I think it's been a hot topic with, people obviously look at the Eagles tight ends is Dallas Goedert the future. Is there any thought here of is Ertz here long term? Can Ertz be moved? I mean, are they even thinking about these things, or
we are? They aren't.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to resign.
I have to imagine that they have Zach Ertz in their future plans for this franchise and probably have him retiring as an Eagle. I don't agree with it. There was a couple of spots where they talked about the Eagles moving up for a guy like CeeDee Lamb, and I just think that they have to give up way too much future capital to make that move, and I just don't think it's going to be beneficial for them to do that. But if you were able to move a guy like Zach Ertz, and that's enough capital for you to move up where you're not giving away so many future premium picks, then I'm on board for that, but I just don't see that kind of situation happening. I think Ertz is going to, finish out his contract and they're going to re-sign him. I think it's going to be a big mistake for the Eagles because you have Goddard and you can free up that cap space and just continue to build, through the draft and at other positions. So, but
the amount of draft, I don't remember the number offhand. How many drafts has Howie Roseman had? Do we know offhand?
A lot.
10 maybe?
Probably 10.
I think in 7 or 8 of the drafts he's traded up in the first round. So I think he's traded up or traded somewhere in the first round. If he's going to trade up, what's it going to take?
Well, I mean, it just based on their previous trade ups, they weren't that bad. They haven't been one of the teams that got smoked like the Washington Redskins and a few others. So right. I just don't see them, giving a huge haul to move up and get one of those receivers. It's going to have to still be a friendly deal for the Eagles. Not giving away too many future picks, and I just don't think it's going to happen. So I don't see them moving up.
2 quick questions for you, Chris. Number 1. Do you think that having Ertz there puts a cap on how effective and useful Goddard can be?
No. I think it's just a different style of offense. I think Goddard's your every down tight end. He can, get down in a 3-point position and run block better than anybody. And I think he's, pretty effective in the passing game as well. But I think he's better off play action, chipping and then getting out into his route. I think that's where he's more effective, where Zach Ertz is just he's just a playmaker. Line him up in the slot, get him out. So I do think they're two very different players. I joke about it, but drafting another running back, running the football 40 times a game, and letting Carson just play action and dink and dunk, the Eagles will be a very, very good football team. They're never going to do that. So that's why I think Ertz is just going to continue in the future plans. They're two different players.
Is the fact that receiver, as you mentioned, I'm quoting you, is such a glaring need, is that an indictment of their selection last year of the receiver in the second round who didn't really play that much for them this year, JJ Arcega-Whiteside?
I think he's fine. I don't think he's a bust. I don't think he has the ceiling that he's going to be an all-pro receiver, but I'm not giving up on him after 1 year. I still think he can, be a serviceable receiver for the Eagles. I mean, he's not going to be a top 5 or 6 receiver inside this division, but sometimes in your second and third rounds, if you can get someone that can contribute, that's all you can ask for. You can't draft an all-pro at every single spot, but he's just going to be a middle-of-the-road player. Hopefully, that's what we need out of him.
You're currently getting trolled by someone named Ryan Havermehl, who you might know personally.
No, he's trolling Kassar. He's not trolling him. If you read the comment before.
He's still trolling him, though. Any other thoughts on the Eagles pick before we move on? And Willie, if you'd like to.
I think that somehow, I don't know how he's going to do it, but I think Roseman's going to try and put Alshon in some type of a deal.
Who wants Alshon?
I know nobody's going to want him, but he's going to try and put him with some type of a pick or something.
I was going to Upton, but
I know nobody wants him.
Unless they can somehow front load his contract to bonus him out every dollar this year to go against the cap, and then
they're going to have to take some kind of money off of it.
Yeah, because they're going to have to use that $27 million in cap they have right now.
Is Hess in his pajamas?
Hey, Chris, do you think with the departure of Aguilar, do you think their whole mindset was to throw Whiteside in the slot to give him more work?
Yeah, I think I have no idea what your question was.
Okay.
420 was yesterday.
Departure of Aguilar. Do you think that they got rid of Aguilar to put JJ Whiteside in the slot?
No, I mean Nelson Aguilar got paid $11 million last year. So, I mean, he's just not coming back because he's not a very good football player. I think Whiteside or Arcega, I think he plays on the outside fine. He just has to get an opportunity. And he has to be a starter, see more downs and get into the rotation. But until then, we don't really know who he is. But I just wasn't giving up hope on him. So
he did look like a player at Stanford, though. And, so his dip last year was a little surprising.
It was surprising, but he showed some promise. And when I say some promise, very, very little. But he had moments. Just, you can't write him off after year one.
I want to welcome Brian Hess to the show. Brian, welcome. We're talking about your team here with pick number 21.
Perfect timing.
Your take on which direction that they
go. The way I see it, it's really wide receiver, corner, maybe an edge guy. They didn't really acknowledge the wide receiver position in free agency whatsoever, which I'm fine with because the free agent crop of wide receivers was not very good to begin with. So to spend money on that position in free agency, I wouldn't have agreed with. But so they've kind of pigeonholed themselves that they have to address the receiver position because you're going into next year with Alshon Jeffrey, big injury concern. Deshaun Jackson, obviously, big injury concern. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, disappointing rookie year, obviously. And Greg Ward, who was surprised after coming off the practice squad. So, it depends who's there. Honestly, if Lamb, Judy, Ruggs, Jefferson all gone, do they take the next best receiver or do they go best player available at edge or corner? It really depends on how the board falls. If Kalavon Chason from LSU was there, they'd have to take him at 21 if he's there and the receivers aren't there. But
yeah, since you got here late, the board's already fallen, bro.
Okay.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I had him taking Jefferson.
Where's the board?
You had him taking Jefferson?
I had him taking Epinesa.
We all had. I think 4 of us had Jefferson, and Willie had BPA.
I'm not a fan of Epinesa. He's kind of like 1 year production. I don't know. I don't know if he's if he's the pick. I mean, early on in the process, he was straight as one of the top defensive ends, and I think that's kind of fallen a little bit.
Yeah, his stock has fallen. I mean, at the beginning of this process, he was the high teens pick, but if the board falls the way I have it falling, I would trade down. I would trade down in a heartbeat just to accumulate more picks, fill some of these holes that the Eagles have. Obviously receiver being the biggest hole, but they still have to acknowledge the other corner position. Hopefully, you're hoping that one of these guys steps up opposite of Darius Slay. Listen, they did a great job making that trade to get a number one corner in here. Yeah, he may have lost a step from when he was in his prime, but it's still better than anything they have on the roster.
Now, for the sake of argument, I don't know if you didn't hear us, but Jefferson is available in what we've been going through. Would you go with him over anything?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, listen. I mean, I hear a lot of the things about Jefferson. Always only a slot guy. Well, listen. I mean, he did play outside receiver his sophomore year, but I mean, he didn't have Joe Burrow thrown to him his sophomore year either.
And he didn't run a real pro offense either.
True. So yeah, I mean, give me Jefferson all day.
Okay. Eagles fans have spoken. We will move on to the next pick, number 22.
I think he said "fuck Willie." I think that's what he said.
That's not what I said. This is the Vikings' second pick, or the first of two picks in round one. This is the pick that they received from the Buffalo Bills in the trade for Stephon Diggs. Last year, they went with a center, Garrett Bradbury, 18th overall. The top three picks they spent last year are on offense. It's their first time with 2 1s since 2014. And Velarde, I'll start with you. This is a team that they, for better or for worse, they gave Kirk Cousins some more money and some more term. Don't know if they really should have done that or not. They've tended to be a team that it does tend to be best player available. When we think they're going to go, they're going to zig, they're going to zag. They sometimes will take secondary guys. They think they need secondary guys. Your thoughts on Minnesota here? They do pick at 25 again, so they'll be up in 3 more picks. But just your thoughts on where they go with the first of 2.
Well, obviously they do have a glaring need with losing Stephon Diggs, so I think they go right after wide receiver. I think they go Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. I think they go there first. Obviously, because the top 4 receivers are off the board. So,
Tony,
he's Ayuk is a guy who's getting a lot of love. I don't see it, to be honest with you. And with this pick right here, I have Christian Fulton available still at cornerback, and I think he's going to get. I'm getting some feedbackers on that. Can you guys hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, good. So I think with the first pick, I think they go.
I have them in my second one.
I think they go defense because I don't know if he'll be there in the second because
right.
And I have a guy like Denzel Mims or something like that, Rager, who would be there in their second pick. So I think the depth of the receiver would cause them to go with the cornerback pick here, and that's why I have Christian Fulton, who the guy friggin' matched up against Jerry Jeudy and Ruggs, and if you look at the numbers against him, he played phenomenal against top receivers. So if he's still there, I would go with him.
Galata.
I think Velarde hit it on the head with the receiver. I think you got to replace a guy like Stephon Diggs, even though he was, you got Thielen over there and you got an aging Rudolph, but still, you got to go receiver at the spot. I think they take Jalen Reagor from TCU. He's their speedster guy. He's a guy who had a good combine, and I think he's a guy that's on the board at that spot. And I take Jalen Reagor.
No, going back to my point real quick though, guys. If you look at this by the guys who are available, New England's not going receiver. New Orleans might go receiver. So there's only 2 picks between these 2 picks. So, but New Orleans and Patriots, they might go to cornerback. So that's why I kind of jumped to the cornerback first. And I think they would be happy with whoever's left, Mims, T. Higgins, Reagor. I think one of those 3 guys might be there in their second pick. I think that's really what they should be doing, or how they should be thinking.
Well, here's where I agree with you. Wide receiver, I think it is a need, but I think, again, this is the depth of the draft. So I don't think you need to necessarily run and use a premium pick on one. They did lose Xavier Rhodes, who was a cornerback for them last year. I believe Trey Waynes is no longer there. I don't remember if he is or he isn't, but my Byerson tells me he's not around. I happen to also have Christian Fulton on the board, the cornerback. For me, I think that's the pick for a lot of the same reasons that you explained. You know, I do think that New England or New Orleans is more likely to go defense and wide receiver. I don't think New England's looking at wide receiver at all. They took N'Keal Harry last year, and at this point, you don't even know you have a quarterback. So I don't think you're going to waste a pick on a wide receiver here. So I think, you know, they can kind of play who's in between them. Now, could somebody jump them? Yeah, it's always a risk. The receiver is a deep there. I think Christian Fulton, who's still on my board, is where they go. Mr. Wilhelm.
Listen, I just think the Minnesota Vikings are they're fearful of the new Super Bowl MVP that is walked into their division. You know, the Packers are really not a threat to win that division. So if they can get past Nicky Six, Nicky Super Bowl, Nicky franchise, Nicky MVP, you know, Vikings will be in good shape. So that's all I got to say about that.
All right, Stone Cold. Over to Stone Cold with the bullhead.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. It's either receiver or corner seems to be their needs, and you know, Fulton's on the board at this point. I think you definitely go there. If they like a receiver, if they really like a receiver, and they're afraid that New Orleans might draft them, then take the receiver. But because I don't think either one of those teams, either New England or New Orleans, is really looking corner. Whereas, you know, New England is really going to be focused on rebuilding the front seven. Offensive line, they really need to work on. Secondary is actually where they're still pretty strong. So, you know, you're not
Even
really
though they lost their top two cornerbacks.
What's that?
Even though they lost their two top cornerbacks in Rhodes and Waynes.
No, but what I'm saying, you address the corner position at 25. You're gonna have to do corner either here or at 25. And if Fulton's still there, then do it. Then take him at 22.
Right.
New England at 23. There, for obvious reasons, there is more upheaval in New England than there has been in a very, 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 very long time. It is a new day in New England. The quarterback is gone. There's a lot of holes, I guess, to fill, and Brady's not going to hide many of them. Again, they took N'Keal Harry last year, so I don't think anybody thinks they're going to go to the wide receiver. But, you know, long-term solution at quarterback needs to be filled. They still need a tight end. They needed one last year. Maybe they go to Tampa Bay and try to trade for one. I will start with Mike Galletta before I just step off for a second here. Where do you think New England's going to go? Because they've never been like this many question marks in multiple decades, frankly.
Well, if you look, I think New England's traded out of the first round a bunch of different years. They usually don't pick this high. They usually move back a little bit, but for the sake of argument for this pick, I think that they could go with Jordan Love, and pick up a guy like a Cam Newton or whatever, to go with for now. But you know, Belichick loves young guys and he loves grooming guys to play the position. Under the circumstances, they lost Brady. I don't know if Jordan Love's your starter, but I think he's a guy you could bring in, show him the system, and he's a guy that could take over in the next maybe 2 or 3 years and give the reins to.
I don't see them taking their first-round quarterback this year. I think they want to see what Jarrett Stidham has. I mean, Jarrett Stidham is one of the top quarterback prospects in the last few years before he got a little injuries and some transfers and some off-the-field problems. I think Stidham has the potential, and they love him up there. You know, if you talk about to the Patriots defensive players, when you talk about Stidham, you know, they said they tested him more than Brady because, you know, he has a cannon from an arm, a little bit of a gunslinger. So I can't see Belichick, especially with the success he's had drafting quarterbacks late, taking a quarterback in the first round. I have them taking AJ Terrell.
I see it a little differently too. I mean, think about it. You just had a 6th round, not that it's going to happen again. You just had a 6th round quarterback go 20 years in your system. You know, listen, Bill is Bill. He's an asshole. You know, he's gonna show you that he could have a guy like Stidham or Brian Hoyer or somebody that I'm going to win with whoever I want. And whoever I'm going to have in my system, I don't need to draft a guy in the 1st round. I don't need to have a 1st-round quarterback. I have, if he lasts this long, I have Javon Kinlaw, a D tackle. going with this pick. I don't know if he's going to be there.
Yeah, that would be a surprise.
But if he is, I think they have to pick him if he's there.
Listen, you guys hit it on the head, Velarde, Tony. They love Stidham. He's going to get a shot. If they want to bring in another quarterback, it's going to be later in this draft. They have other holes to fill. Front seven, Patrick Queen, Kenneth Murray, best front seven player available at this point. If either one of them, I'd look for New England to take one of those two, or maybe an edge guy, whoever's there.
I have the linebacker Patrick Queen from LSU. You know, there's been a lot of great linebackers that have gone through New England. They may not have stayed there forever because they go on to sign bigger deals elsewhere because they just don't get that money in New England. I don't see a quarterback at all. This could go one of two ways. If they play Stidham and he plays well, okay, we have our quarterback. If they play Stidham and he blows, they might be possibly talking about Trevor Lawrence next year or somebody else. Like, at least if the variable is there. See what you got. If he sucks, you're going to be in a position to draft a quarterback next year. I don't think at all they're going to be go take a Jordan Love or anything like that. I think they start working on their defense. They get that as solidified as they can and see what they have in the quarterback. And like Tony said, they seem to love him up there. Could they be wrong? Absolutely. But you don't know until you've given him the opportunity. So either way, this answers questions. It answers if Stidham is the guy, and if he's not, you can draft someone with a better position that you have. So that's why I think that they go with the linebacker Patrick Queen. I'm sorry, I take that back. I'm looking at the wrong list there. Sorry, Xavier McKinney, safety out of Alabama. I do like Patrick Queen for them. I like McKinney a little bit better because they've always had a very strong secondary, and I think McKinney would be a great fit there. Although so would Queen, but I think McKinney a little bit better. I can't read my own notes. It's getting late. My apologies. Any other thoughts on the New England Patriots?
Good.
Well, then that would mean at 24, the New Orleans Saints are up. The New Orleans Saints made no first-round pick last year. It went to the Packers in the trade for Marcus Davenport. Drew Brees, I think, is in his last year. I don't think there's any question, I think, about that at this point. He's got a job lined up afterwards to go to ESPN, to go do – whatever it is, NBC to go do Sunday Night Football. They've been garbage in the playoffs now for a couple of years. They really, really have. They do need a wide receiver to go opposite Michael Thomas. I don't know if they go there. Mike Velarde, your thoughts on the Saints?
This is where I have Patrick Queen going. They do need some help defensively. I'm just going to throw this out there. Don't be surprised if Sean Payton throws the wild card out there and drafts Jordan Love. Drew Brees' successor. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point you're trying to – this is it for Brees. He signed a 2-year deal. We don't even know if that second year is going to come into effect, but you want to get him another weapon, and this would be a perfect spot for Jalen Reagor for me. They signed Emmanuel Sanders in free agency to be that second outside receiver, and to add Jalen Reagor into the slot with his speed, Kamara out of the backfield. Are you kidding me? I mean, Drew Brees, if he didn't get it done this year, with those weapons, I mean, yeah, it's time to hang him up. But you got to give him that speed. You can't just beat a Michael Thomas every play.
Think about something real quick though. Is Taysom Hill going to be your? Is he going to be your quarterback in the future?
They seem to love him.
He's 30.
I'm saying, is he a quarterback though? Is he a natural quarterback?
No, he's not. He's a better Tim Tebow, is what he is.
I know. So, and they let Teddy Bridgewater go. So, I don't know. They got to prepare for that too.
Taysom Hill.
I don't think he's a quarterback in the future, but I mean that's down the road.
I'm with Velarde. I like Patrick Queen at this spot. AJ Klein they lost in the offseason. They need to put somebody next to Demario Davis. I think Patrick Queen fits the mold for New Orleans.
Yeah.
I went secondary here with AJ Terrell, the DB out of Alabama. I mean, he's a lot of players have him a little bit knocked down, but I don't think he gets enough credit. The Saints secondary is awful for so to speak, and I think they need to immediately address it.
I think if they don't go wide receiver, and I don't think that they should go wide receiver. I mean, at some point, you just got to, take a position that you actually do need. I mean, if Drew Brees is another wide receiver to be successful, then you should just cut ties now. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. This is where I also have Patrick Queen to really start working on that defense, because it's got to be better. And it's hurt them a lot in the postseason. It's not worked out well for them at all. They got to figure it out. So for me, I like Patrick Queen at the spot there, 24 for the New Orleans Saints. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings are back again at 25 with their own pick. Again, they have a lot of needs. I think we both think they either go corner or wide receiver at 22, which probably means they're going to color our picks at 25. Brian Hess, your thoughts on the Vikings?
Well, if they go corner with Fulton at 22, this is a good spot for Denzel Mims, wide receiver from Baylor. They need that outside receiver now that Diggs is gone. So it just seems to me that Mims would be a great fit in the Vikings offense.
This is where I had Fulton.
Yep.
Yeah, I had Denzel Mims as well here. I think he does complement Thielen a lot better. I think it was between him and T. Higgins, and from whatever I'm hearing about Higgins, his pro days have been less than spectacular. So I think Mims with
he's from Clemson, so
Mims is probably one of the most physically imposing receivers in the draft. Even over the guys who were taken ahead of him. Is he as polished as some of the other guys? No, he ran in that Baylor offense, which we'll see what happens with that. But I think Mims is the guy that they go with.
I already had him taking Rieger from TCU, so I'm going cornerback and Jalen Johnson from Utah at this pick.
Minnesota's in a weird spot. I mean, do you think Minnesota could possibly package these two picks to move up for a really impact player? Like, do you see that potentially, or do you think that they would spread them out and leave them to go for, where they are, 22 and 25?
I think it's more likely that this is a good target spot for somebody looking to move back in if, like, a Jordan Love's still available.
Yep. Good point.
I don't see him moving up.
Yeah. If you look at the chart, Minnesota's got 780 and 7. That's 1,500. 1,500 gets them pick 7. I don't know.
If they feel like they want to move up for one of these receivers that falls that they like, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they package these two picks together and move up and get somebody.
I just don't feel that packaging these two picks to target a receiver is what you want to do.
And again, it's going to be a spot where Indianapolis might try to make a play as well.
That's what I said, Drew, earlier.
This would be a spot potentially for a team to trade up to. Absolutely. Another one where a team might trade up to is the next pick at 26, which was the third pick of the first round from the Miami Dolphins. I think we agree they went, I think pretty much universally, it was quarterback and offensive tackle. I think we were close on that. So we sit here at 26. This is the pick that they got from the Laramie Tunsil trade. Again, they're third of the first round. Galetta, they have needs. Defensive side of the ball, offensive playmakers. Thoughts here?
Well, I think at this spot, you got to either try to protect Stafford as much as you can a little bit more, or get ready to protect the guy that's going to be the replacement for Stafford. So I'm going Tapper here.
Is there breaking news? Is the Sports Box breaking news live? Matt Stafford traded to Miami Dolphins?
Dolphins.
Is Stafford traded to the Miami?
No.
Fuck. I thought that would be good.
Mike?
I have Austin Jackson going to this spot.
Okay.
Listen, this is a spot where you might see the first running back off the board.
That's what I got, Hesse.
There you go, baby. DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins. Any of those three might be the first running back off the board. If they go in a different direction, Xavier McKinney is still there to replace, Minka Fitzpatrick, who they just traded away last year. That's also a possibility.
You bring up McKinney, Hess, and that's who I have. In their first pick, they got their quarterback, leader of the offense, then they go to offensive tackle, and now they got the leader of the defense back in their secondary with McKinney. So that's who I see. I don't have a first round grade on any of the running backs, but it would make sense.
I got DeAndre Swift.
I have Jonathan Taylor, and it would be the second year in a row that a team with 3 picks takes a running back at around this spot. This is around where Josh Jacobs went a year ago. I am never an advocate of taking a running back in the first round, and I stand by that. But this just feels like a pick that I think this is the way that they're going to go. You know, if you come into the season with a new quarterback and a new running back and some help for him with the offensive line, that gets people somewhat excited. I mean, nobody went to the Dolphins games last year, and it does matter. So, you know, they addressed their defense a bit last year with Christian Wilkins. I think this is an offensive draft for them. I think they go purely on the offense. That's why I think they go running back, and I think Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in this draft. It's not a shot against Swift. I just like Taylor a little bit.
Speaking on the running backs real quick, I agree with you, Brian. I do like Jonathan Taylor as the best running back in the draft, but the problem is here. A team like Miami needs a few years at him because they're not going to be good for a few years. Jonathan Taylor has a ton of carries. I think if a team like Tampa Bay comes back in a more of a win now situation, I think he would be a better fit for a win now situation and take a DeAndre Swift who doesn't have as many carries and touches, you know, and go from there because you're going to get more years out of him. Jonathan Taylor, he's going to come in the league. You could give him as many carries as you want for 3 years and burn him out. And that next contract he might never see.
That's fair.
4 college years is a lot of touches, man.
Absolutely. I mean, and, you know, how many carries did he get at Salem too? You know,
That's
I mean,
listen, these Wisconsin running backs get
franchise
a ton of tread on them tires when they're in school. You look at Melvin Gordon, who has had what, one good year, and I mean, you know, and
at Wisconsin, you mean, right?
I'm saying like he had a great career at Wisconsin, but they ran the crap out of him, and you know, in the pros he's been okay, but not worth the 15th overall pick in the draft which was where he was drafted by the Chargers. So you're looking at another running back from Wisconsin where they get 35 carries a game. I don't know if I want to touch Jonathan Taylor. Like you said, Tone, maybe, 2-3 years, and then you don't pay him that second contract. But what does he have left in the tank?
Yeah, that's why I just feel that, you know, I think it really depends on your franchise situation, what running back you prefer, whether it would be Swift or Taylor.
A very angry Chargers fan in Drew Trammell letting you know what he thinks about Melvin Gordon. He is angry. Nothing wrong with being angry. 27, the Seattle Seahawks. Really interesting tidbit on the Seahawks here. The Seattle Seahawks have not selected any higher than the 27th overall pick since Bruce Irvin at 15 in 2002.
That means you're very good.
Not just that, they love to trade out of the round all the time.
They have not made their own pick in, I want to say, 8 years.
It's amazing.
But you've still been good, though.
True. Right. I'll let you start here. So Seattle, you know, quarterback's fine. They addressed receiver last year. They appear to be okay at running back, even though they wasted a pick on Rashad Penny. I like Chris Carson quite a bit. It's funny, but their biggest needs are defensively. I guess. Where do you think they go here? Mike?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were talking to me.
Seattle?
I'm going offensive tackle Ezra Cleveland from Boise State.
That's who I have too, Mike.
You know, if they don't re-sign Jadeveon Clowney, you know, they have a pretty big need for edge rusher. I'm looking at Yetur Gross-Matos from Penn State going at this spot.
Yeah,
he's probably the best edge rusher left on the board.
Bruce Smith, I have great news. You can watch this show on demand whenever you want to. It's been almost 3 hours of wonderfulness, including our very special guest at the start of the show, Michael Pittman, the Super Bowl winning running back from Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good stuff. Go back and watch it. Hess, I agree with you. I like Yetur Gross-Matos here. You know, with Clowney gone, that was a hole they tried to fill. They filled it for a couple of games and he left. So they took Collier last year. Get somebody else at that position, one of the most important positions on the team. I like Gross-Matos here if he's there at 27, but let's be honest, they're probably not making this pick.
Agreed.
The thing, though, I think Russell Wilson was fucking pulling magic out of his hat ass wherever you want to pull it.
pretty much
last year. And I think Cleveland is somebody whose stock is rising a little bit. And I think that's more of a pressing need, the defensive end, because, the results of Clowney last year were pretty good, but I don't think they're going to give him they're not going to give him the money he wants. And I don't know if he's going to have the demeanor where it's worth, him staying in Cleveland. So I think if they, number one, Wilson should be their number one priority to protect.
I'm going to take a shot here with DB. I'm going to go Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota.
I like that.
It still needs. I mean, again, the Legion of Boom is no longer there. That's to say the very least. So
I think this might be a spot where, the Colts might come back up. They got 34 and 44. If Jordan Love's still on the board at this point, this could be a spot where the Colts come and get Love. Another team might come up. They might like a running back here. Although trading up for a running back, I wouldn't advise for. But this is definitely a spot where if somebody falls, you could see a team from the second round jump up to this spot because like we said, Seattle is definitely a team that loves to trade down.
The thing with Winfield, Mike, that you talked about, I think if he was maybe 3 inches taller, he might be the number one safety and pick 10 hires out. He's tiny. He doesn't play small, but he's tiny, and I can't see him matching up with George Kittle.
Yeah, I know.
And that's the thing that he's a very interesting prospect because the kid is a ball player, but he is just, I think, 5'8" on a good day.
Yeah,
a little short.
That's why I said take a shot.
Wish I was a little bit taller. The Baltimore Ravens at pick number 28. They have gone offense in round one the last 4 years. At least one pick on the offense side of the ball. They probably regret that Hayden Hurst pick, though. Playoff team, they relied on Lamar all year, lost their first playoff game to the Tennessee Titans. Tony, I'll let you start with this. Baltimore is an interesting team because I really thought that they were going to fire Harbaugh, and then they pulled Lamar Jackson out of their ass, and now they're going to fire John Harbaugh through no fault of John Harbaugh, by the way. That was all the quarterback. Where do you see the Ravens going here to try to get back to a great year they had up until the playoffs started?
Yeah, well, that's what I'd say. They were exposed a little bit in the playoffs. They were beaten up, really. I still have Patrick Queen left on my board. I think if he is there, I think that has to be the pick for him. Like I said, they were manhandled by the Tennessee Titans. They were really exposed on defense, and actually, they were exposed a few times on defense during the season. So there were signs that they couldn't handle a strong run team. And I think Patrick Queen solidifies that and gives Baltimore that outside linebacker presence that they've been known to have.
I still have Kenneth Murray left on my board. So,
right, yeah,
going to go there. I would have to think, defensively, especially linebacker. Linebacker in Baltimore, that he'll go there.
I'm thinking linebacker as well. Kenneth Murphy from Oklahoma. I have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, linebacker is definitely their biggest need. So even if Murray and Queen are off the board, maybe a Zach Bond, who's an outside linebacker, Wisconsin. So. Yeah, I'm with you guys, linebacker.
You don't think his dirty test scares people out of the first round? I mean, that's why I don't have him in my first round because of that.
It's definitely a possibility. I mean, and especially this year with everything going on and everything's virtual and they can't bring these guys in. Yeah, it could definitely push him out of the first round.
Yeah, because I think he was a lock really to be in the first round before this. Yeah, I think Team Sauer. I mean, especially when you're talking about performance enhancing shit and Yeah, it's tough,
I am in the same boat as you guys. I think linebacker is the spot, and I have Queen gone and Kenneth Murray gone, so I have Zach gone, from Wisconsin. I don't think Baltimore really shied away from these guys. I mean, I guess they did take Ronnie Stanley over Tunsil, but that happened like that day. Like it's just kind of I don't know. I don't think necessarily Baltimore might be scared away from that. I think that it's a good culture there, so I think they can kind of.
Yeah, because they've never killed anybody or anything.
Right. I mean, people have killed people in Baltimore, and nobody's gotten worried about it, so I don't think they worry.
Or beat their fiance in an elevator.
Yeah.
In Atlantic City.
The culture is they don't care. Like this stuff has happened. Like, and they just go for the best player. I think Vaughn is a nice fit for them.
But the problem with that stuff, Brian, though, is I think when you're talking about performance enhancing stuff and Braun in college, I think that, we already knew Ray Rice could play. We already knew that, Ray Lewis was fucking Hall of Fame player and stuff like that. You don't know these guys that are on shit, and what they're going to be able to do in the next level. So that's the reason I think teams get a little scared on Braun. So I'd be really interested to see where he's picked.
We go now into the title game losers. We start with the Tennessee Titans at 29. They took Jeffrey Simmons last year, the D tackle. This is their lowest first-round pick since 2009, so it's been a long time coming for the Titans. Mike, this is a team that they just franchised their running back. That's a lot of money. They just gave Ryan who the hell's a stupid name? Ryan Tannehill a lot of money. Disagree with that. That's a disaster and a half. So
Miami made the same mistake. Look where they're at.
They did. Where do you see Tennessee kind of trying to get to that next level? Was last year a fluke? Is that what's going to be proven to be, or will they make this pick matter?
Which Mike you talking to?
Yeah, I was going to say which one.
You can go.
Oh, man.
Or whatever.
I still don't have a read on this team. I don't know. I mean,
I think Mike got. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike. Because I'm
going to say D tackle. I'm going to say Marlon Davidson from Auburn. I think they solidified offense a little bit with what they have. I mean, yeah, they could probably go with another offensive tackle, but I think D tackle they got to start working on defense now. And yeah, he's a defensive coach. I mean, that's the way they're going to go. I think Davis is the guy.
I mean, I haven't taken Zach Braun here. Offensively, I mean, Tannehill, I obviously I disagree with them giving him the money. But I mean, what are you going to do? the run that he had. I mean, they let Mariota walk. I mean, what are you going to do? Not. I mean, the guy's going to command money. But what do? You let him walk? I don't know. I mean, is he worth the money? Probably not. I mean, you have to sign Henry.
You don't have to. Well, that's the thing. It's such a
Henry carried the team on his back, literally.
Hold on. You don't have to sign Henry.
No, you don't. You franchise. I don't know what you do.
Again. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I don't put money into that position. I understand they had on my head. I get it, but that's not what I would recommend anybody do.
Brian, Brian, what you're saying now. Let's say that right now, like, look, we're doing this mock draft right now, right? And let's say that they didn't just they told Henry to go pound sand somewhere. You still have there was only one running back picked. They had the pick of any running back they want except whoever it was, Taylor or Swift. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. But so they if they decided to let Henry walk, they could easily replace him at this point in the draft without a problem. And most likely they're in their second round pick there would be a running back. So they didn't really have to invest that money in Henry. So to your point, if they let him walk, they'd still have plenty of options.
I look at their situation and it's a weird team. I don't like their quarterback. I don't like him a little bit. They ran over teams last year, which means there's a lot of tread on that tire from last year. I think Derrick Henry has a big down year next year for that simple reason. He took so many really violent carries. He was a bulldozer. I loved him out of college. I wanted the Cowboys to take him in the second round that year. Didn't happen. Here we are. For me, I think you try to invest in the offensive line for two reasons. Number one, to protect Tannehill, who sucks. And number two, open up more holes for the running back, whoever it's going to be. I have Josh Jones out of Houston here. He's the best tackle I have left on my board. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's one of their biggest needs. And you went defense last year. I mean, again, Tannehill's not a statue, but he ain't going to run around that much either.
That's who I have as well, Brian. I think some of the Tannehill is warranted, but I think that we have to also acknowledge that in that offense that he ran with the play action, which isn't what Mariota does, he did that very, very well. I mean, if you look at some average quarterbacks in the past that were great at play action, like a Steve DeBerg, or them guys who really kind of made a living off it, I think Tannehill could actually be kind of serviceable in their offense. Now, do you want him to go out there and run Kansas City's offense or some of these other offenses? No, because it'll be a dumpster fire. But I think you have to give him a little bit of credit because he was successful. But yeah, I agree with Josh Jones. He's the best tackle on the board. I think that should be the pick.
Yeah, listen, Josh Jones, absolutely probably the best tackle available at this point. Don't be surprised if they go edge rusher. You know, they've been rumored to be the front runner on the Jatavian Clowney. Now that he's lowered his price down to about 17, 18 per year. I think the Titans are waiting for that price tag to come down a little more. If they decide not to go in that direction, I agree with Coletta. You know, I have actually Marlon Davidson, edge rusher from Auburn, going in this spot.
Velarde, did you make yours?
I did.
Okay, just making sure you had everybody. Yeah, I just think Tennessee is just in a really weird spot because again, I think last year was a fucking mirage. I don't know how else to say it. They're not going, yeah, I think they're going anywhere close back to where they were last year. I think the AFC is getting better. I don't see it. That's just my personal opinion on that one. Next up at number 30, the NFC runner-up, the Green Bay Packers with the 30th pick in the draft. So Packers are interesting. All their first-round picks of every draft since 2011 have been on defense. So thank you for giving a lot of help to Aaron Rodgers. Make sure you send him a nice card and some flowers. They took
our resident Packer.
I just let him know we're on the Packers. I don't know if he's still awake or not or whatever else is going on. However, two defensive picks last year, Rashawn Gary, a defensive end who's playing offensive linebacker, and a free safety, Darnell Savage. I think wide receiver is an interesting need for them. For me, the best one left on my board, and I have this player over Rieger, is Denzel Mims from Baylor. I know Hav has loved Mims for a couple of weeks. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here. You know, from a Green Bay standpoint, your running backs are fine. You don't really have much of a tight end, but you never have really used a tight end that much. So I thought about maybe taking a Harrison Bryant here. I was kind of talked out of that, but not ruling that out. Giving Aaron Rodgers some weapons, I think, makes some sense to me. The defense played really, really well last year, whether that was coaching or what. They did, so call it what it is. Hess, your thoughts here. It feels like they go offense for the first time in a long time to me.
Yeah, listen, like you said, they've invested in the defense, which has gotten considerably better. I have T. Higgins here from Clemson as another outside wide receiver opposite Devontae Adams. The same situation as New Orleans. You want to give these veteran quarterbacks, weapons to throw to in the last years of their career. Now, we know Drew Brees is at the very end. We don't know how much longer Aaron Rodgers has. Is he going to play another couple of years, or is he going to play till he's 45 like Brady? You don't know, but you need another outside wide receiver. And T. Higgins, yes, his stock has fallen, but he has great hands. The speed's not what you want, but you need a possession guy on the outside, and Higgins fits the mold for me.
Yeah, I have.
Can anyone decipher this? What is he saying?
I don't know. I have Jalen Rieger going here. I have Jalen Rieger from TCU.
TCU. So a receiver, right? I think so far. Yeah. Mike, your thoughts?
I had Denzel Mims from Baylor going here, just like you do. I think it's a perfect spot for him. They need somebody for Rodgers to give him some help. So yeah, Mims is on my board. He goes to the Packers.
I think he rolled over on his mattress.
Yeah,
Tony, your pick for the Pack.
Yeah, I have Jalen Rieger as well, and I think. I know a couple of you guys picked Mims, a couple of us picked Rager. I think the difference is, first of all, Mims is already off my board. I have him with Minnesota because I think he complements their offense better. I think Jalen Rieger complements Devontae Adams a little bit better. Devontae Adams is a lot of things. I don't know if he has that explosiveness that you would look like. I mean, Jalen Rieger, if you guys watched him at TCU, I mean, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's a threat. He's a really fun weapon. I think that's something that Packers have missed in quite some time, and I think if he's somebody that Rodgers gets the ball, he'll be good. When you compare him to a player like Mims, they're just different types of wide receivers. It's like I'm not comparing these two, but it's like more of a Julio Jones, Ty Hill kind of comparison than it is. So it's just kind of whatever is the better fit for their offense. I think Rager is a perfect fit over Mims or T. Higgins.
If you're Green Bay, do you entertain trading down here with the thought of it's a deep receiver draft, and I might be able to get maybe one or two of them in the second round, depending on what picks I get?
You know, that's a difficult question because, you know, you'd like to project who is there, but I think Rager is such a good fit to him. I wouldn't mess around, and I try to get him because although it is a deep receiver draft, some of the receivers towards the end, maybe if somebody similar to Rager, maybe like a Van Jefferson from Florida, could be done in like the third or fourth round or something like that. It'd be the pick, but then you're gambling if he's there. You know, I think the stage of Aaron Rodgers' career, I don't want to gamble. I'm going to get him weapons and let's get back to the NFC, championship.
I can agree with that. You guys are kind of on the same page there.
Weapons for Rodgers, absolutely.
Weapons for sounds like a good movie.
It might be.
The Super Bowl runner-up with presumably their second pick of the first round, the San Francisco 49ers at 31. And again, they might be trading out of this one too. We don't really know. Again, I mean, I won't say they came out of nowhere last year, but they came out of nowhere last year because nobody really thought, I think, that they were going to be this good this quickly. And it's funny because it isn't really a Jimmy G thing. I didn't think he had that great of a year, but the defense played really well. The Nick Bosa pick worked out really great. Depending on if they make this pick, I think they go secondary. And the guy that I have here is Grant Delpit, the safety out of LSU, who, he's been mocked a lot higher than this. I think if you're San Francisco, you're pretty happy to get a Grant Delpit here. And again, they might go offensive playmaker early. I don't know. They might trade both of these picks. But I think if you stay there, if they go receiver early, I think they go safety here and Delpit's the pick.
Yeah, Brian, that was my thinking as well. But in the first round for me, I had C.J. Henderson. So here's where I have T. Higgins selected. I think he does a good compliment to Deebo Samuel and the guys that they have there. He's actually a solid blocker too. If you watch some of the downfield stuff that he did to get some of the Clemson backs open. But in my, I did like an alternative mock to see who was there. So early on when I had San Francisco taking Henry Ruggs, who they like, and kind of alternative, and I do have Delpit. I think Delpit would be a nice fit here too. But so I went T. Higgins.
I think safety is a very big need for them. I do.
I'm going Cesar Ruiz from Michigan. I mean, I know you guys, I think a couple of you guys had him picked earlier, but I think he comes down to this spot, and that's a good spot for the offensive line for San Fran.
This is where I had Josh Jones, the offensive tackle from Houston, going. I'm assuming that they acknowledge the need for a playmaker with the 13th pick, whether it's Ruggs or Judy, whoever they like there at 13. If they address the offensive tackle need, which there's going to be tackles going around that spot anyway, maybe they go with a receiver like Brandon Ayuk at this point. But for me, Josh Jones.
I said at 13, I think that there's a possibility they could trade that pick. And if they stay there, I think that they could take C.J. Henderson. If they trade it, I think that they could take a cornerback at 31 here. I like them taking Trayvon Diggs from Alabama here. So I don't think they'll take two corners, but I like either one here.
Right.
Mike, your pick?
They already gave it.
Oh, Mike,
I already gave it. Ruiz from Michigan.
It is getting late. Well, last but certainly not least, with pick number 32, your defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. There was no first-round pick last year. It went for Frank Clark. There has only been one first-round selection in the last 4 drafts, and you might have heard of him. His name is Patrick Mahomes. They do have some needs here, and most of them are on the defensive side of the ball simply because that's where they have less talent. They could use a corner. They could use a defensive end. They could use a defensive tackle. They stay on the offensive line, could always use that. Hess, I'll go to you first here. Listen, no matter what happens, this is all going to come down to what Mahomes does next year. That period. That doesn't really matter. But you have this first-round pick. If they keep it, where can they go?
I actually have them taking another weapon on offense Damian Williams is 28 years old. You want another fast, quick, speedy running back out of the backfield. I have them taking J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State.
So you have Dobbins as your number 2 running back, or just for position need?
Number 2 running back.
Yeah, I think I don't know who you had first, but I think.
Listen, I have Swift 1, and then Dobbins and Taylor 2, 3, very close. But I think Dobbins fits what the Chiefs do more than Taylor would.
So yeah, I mean, over long term, you might be right, but they're still going to have Damian Williams there. So if they do go running back, which I don't have them going, but I would go Taylor, like I said earlier, in the win now situation, because it's a little bit more complimentary. I think Taylor can catch the ball, and I think he's just that much better of a runner than Dobbins.
I think we got to go. I think Kansas City's got to go cornerback because they need to start building a secondary there to stop some people. I know they can score, but they got to slow down some people. So I think AJ Terrell Clemson's a good fit, and he's still on my board. So, Velarde.
I have cornerback as well. I have Jalen Johnson from Utah.
For me, I like a defensive end here, and AJ Epineza is still on the board for me. I think it'd be a nice pick for Kansas City. Again, I think you need that pass rush. I think you need to be able to get to the quarterback. And not that they do a very poor job of it, but I think that you could definitely get some more help in the rotation there. There's not a lot of needs on the offense. I'm not really – I just think I can get offensive weapons later, and Mahomes will make them look like superstars. I don't need to necessarily, put a premium first-round pick into an offensive talent, just because if you look at the running backs they've had, I guess kind of to your point, Hess, I mean, they've taken literal trash year by year, and they've been great. And it's Spencer Ware, it's Kareem Hunt, it's Damian Williams, it just rotates. It's whoever they put there just does well. So I don't necessarily want to put some massive, resources into that. I can get a guy later. You know how I feel about running backs. For me, KC, if you don't go corner, I think defensive end is a wonderful way to make your secondary look better by getting better pass rush. And if Epineza is there, who's been mocked higher than this, I think that's probably a good fit.
So since we had him on the show, I figured I'd throw out a bonus pick if you guys want to throw out a bonus pick. Michael Pittman Jr., where do we think he's going? I think in my mock draft, I have him 34 going to the Colts in the beginning of the second round.
I got
KC for me
in the second round as well. I have him going to Miami, actually.
He's not going to get past day 2, no matter what happens. I think it would be a really, really big surprise if he fell even into round 3. I think he's a great talent. I'm not sure where he goes, but I think he's going to be, there's always seems to be every year, there's guys who go in that top half or top quarter of the second round. They're like, wow, these guys are really good talents. How did they go earlier? He strikes me as somebody who might be that. And I think in a different receiver year, he's a first round pick. But I think that there's so much depth at receiver, so many just like super stud guys, he's not getting as much prep. That's why maybe he falls into that second round. And like I said, there's going to be teams who don't go receiver in the first round, who will go receiver in the second or third. Primary guy, to me, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think I agree with Hess. I think I had him as the second pick for the Dolphins in the second round. I think that's a great spot for him. But he is physically, he reminds me a lot of Mike Evans. Big Mike Evans from Tampa Bay. I don't know if he's going to excel into that player, but it wouldn't be surprised because he is maybe a little bit smaller than Evans, but it's definitely a very, very familiar frame, and he would look good in a Dolphins uniform.
What pick number is that? Do you know? Offhand?
The Dolphins would be 37?
No, the second pick.
The second pick. I think it's. I want to say
33.
I was going to say Packers have 62. I wonder if he lasts that long.
I'm loading it up right now. So you're looking for the Miami
56.
56. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, if
right.
but see, I have Packers going wide receiver in round 1. So I mean, I don't know if they go back to back receiver. I think that would be a little redundant.
Here's an interesting team as I'm looking through this. So I'm looking through the second round. The Rams don't pick until it looks like 52 with their second round pick. I mean, that again, they just got rid of Brandon Cooks. They have a hole there. I don't know. I mean, that's just a weird team right now.
They have Robert Woods. I mean, they have a ton of receivers. I mean, Cooks. I mean, taking Cooks off of that offense isn't really that big of a loss, to be honest with you.
And it's Cooper Cup too. So
it's interesting there. We're getting ready to wrap it up here. We're going almost 3.5 hours, which is longer than we thought, but that's okay. Oh my God.
No tight ends in the first round, huh?
Nah.
So it's funny.
Very poor tight end draft.
Well,
I was
Extremely
just
poor.
thinking that.
in my opinion, and you're going to
Not even one that just pops out.
no, but you're going to disagree with me. I think Green Bay could go tight end, and I originally said Harrison Bryant from Florida Atlantic was interesting to me because they don't have a tight end at all. You're going to give me, the guy from Notre Dame, and that's fine. I think I like Harrison Taylor. Maybe somebody could reach and take him there. I think he's the best of the bunch personally.
Claypool runs a 4.3 for a tight end. Well, he's technically a wide receiver.
That's what I was going to say, Mike. Is my favorite tight end that I would take a chance on is actually wide receiver in Claypool, because a lot of teams are talking about moving him to tight end. If there's no tight end to jump out on anybody, the kid from Missouri, he's got some talent that they've been saying too. But you're talking third, fourth round grades on this. DraftKings and Vegas has, I think, the over under on a tight end pick is, I think it was like 44.5 was the over under. Like, I mean, that's that's pretty high up there for no tight ends.
Right.
Yeah, Claypool. Listen, I mean, with his size, his speed, if he had better hands and ran better routes, he'd be a first round pick, no doubt. But he's got like a 10% drop rate, which is why he's going to be in the third round probably.
And I think that's one of the reasons why they force him into being a tight end and not a receiver in the NFL level.
All right.
So, in respect to the teams that we all root for, what would piss you off the most Thursday night?
It's just
For me, as an Eagles fan, if we traded up and took like another offensive tackle, that would really piss me off. Because I think Andre Dillard showed enough that he should be the starting left tackle for the Eagles this year. You drafted him in the first round last year for a reason. Okay, I know there's some good offensive tackles that are going to be up there in the 11 to 15 range. But if they trade up and
there's no way.
And take a guy that they could have got at 21, that would really piss me off.
Any way. I don't think there's any way they're taking anybody. I don't think there's any way they're taking an offensive lineman. I think that's out of the question.
So I guess you're pretty right. You guys would be pretty pissed at that. Because if you don't think there's any way to take it and it happens, you're going to flip your shit.
That's what I'm saying. But Howie Roseman loves to draft linemen, either offensive line or defensive line.
I could see possibly a defense. I think if anything, they're taking either a linebacker or a wide receiver at that spot.
No, but the question that Tarek said, what would piss you off?
Well, no, I'm saying if they take an offensive lineman, holy shit, it'll be worse than Galletta's fucking tirade. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I will flip a shit.
Mike, what will recreate the Vita Vea moment for you?
Dude, I'm telling.
I think if the Bucks move down out of 14, if they move down, that'll tick me off. And I think defensive line will tick me off if they. I think they got to go O-line. With a guy like Brady back there for 2 years, you got to protect your investment. You put a lot of money into this guy to come in and help your offense move. I think you got to protect him. You got to go O-line.
But Mike, why would just moving down upset you? Because say if Willis isn't there, if Wirfs isn't there, if Becton isn't there, and if Thomas isn't there,
I don't have a lot of confidence that this team will draft the right player if they move down. That's my fear.
I mean, what if they haven't done it in the past? We talked about Minnesota trading up early. What if they move down to Minnesota and still got a Josh Jones or something like that? You still be pissed about that? I think that would probably be pretty good.
No, if they move down and get an offensive lineman, I'd be fine with it. But if they move down and take a position like a D tackle or something, I'd be
so Mike.
Upset.
You would be upset if one of the top 4 offensive tackles was still there, and they still traded them.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Brian. Yes, I would be. I would be flipping if that and you know what? I can see the Bucks doing that because they've done shit like that in the past. So,
Tony.
I mean, if the Cowboys stay put and they just take Gregor Matos Gross Matos. I would be upset with that. I know they love the kid and they did a ton of work on it, but it's just if you get the guy you like but you draft him 10 spots too high, then he's projected to go. That's a bad pick, no matter what you say. So they need to trade down. If they stay there, and if they get Chase on, or if they get a DB like even Fulton, I wouldn't have a problem with. There's not much here that the Cowboys are going to do that are going to make me flip my lid, to be honest with you, because a Jordan Love pick I wouldn't like at all. That would probably make me flip, because even though I'm not a huge Dak fan, I don't think he's the answer. It's just a waste of pick. Receiver too. I'm not a big fan if they go receiver either.
If 17 comes and I hear Roger Goodell in his stupid basement tell me that the Cowboys selected a wide receiver, I am going to lose my mind.
Yeah,
if there is one thing this team doesn't need right now, it is a wide receiver.
The only thing more than a wide receiver I might pissed off, and we just talked about this, is if they took a tight end. If they reached to take a tight end because Witten retired, I would fucking flip. Because there's not a tight end valuable at 17.
Sure.
I'd rather them take Cesar Ruiz at 17, because at least you could, say, hey, they got the best player at the position, and the kid might be an all-pro for the next 10 years. If he doesn't go back to Camden and get shot.
As a Texans fan, Mike Ralston knows that at any moment some large name player can be traded for pennies or magic beans. So if Watson got traded on draft night, I think Mike would lose his mind, and I would agree.
That would never happen.
That'd be a good thing.
Listen, I know I already talked, but I think that this is a very – you guys some of you might disagree, but as an Eagles fan, I think this is a very we need a wide receiver bad. If you're an Eagles fan, you saw – what happened at the end of this draft, at the end of the year last year, and how bad the Eagles need a wide receiver. And you might say, oh, well, they don't need to draft a wide receiver. They need to draft a wide receiver. They need a wide receiver very badly.
But it doesn't have to be at that pick, though. It's a deep draft.
It does need to be that pick. I don't know if you agree with me. I think that first round pick needs to be a wide receiver.
When are they picking the second?
It depends on who's there. If it's any of the top four receivers
if those three,
then you take them.
If two of those three are there, I think that it needs to be one of them. The problem is, like when Chris came on, I don't know if you were here, Hess. When Chris came on, he was kind of right. If Jefferson's the only one that's there out of the four, it might not be a bad thing to trade that pick. You know what I mean? If Ruggs, Lamb, and who was the other one? Judy aren't there. It might not be a bad thing to say, hey, you know what? Get out of that pick.
Willie copped out though and didn't make a pick. So let's go on record with that.
I don't mind taking Jefferson, but it's not a bad idea. I get it, but there has to be other things that are involved.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Jefferson is gone, and assuming the top three are gone, then you trade out.
Right. But I think if Jefferson's there, you probably have to take Jefferson.
You absolutely have to.
Where's the Eagles' second round pick?
53,
which isn't bad.
I mean, that's in the range that I talked about. Pittman, the kid from Colorado, Chenault.
But listen, we know
I love one of them guys at that pick.
The problem is trading out though that far. So when you trade out though, you have to get an earlier second round pick. You can't go all the way back to 53 though.
Yeah,
like we're past.
No,
that.
you probably trade back to maybe top of the second round, late one. Pick up an extra pick, which I always am a fan of. I'm always a fan of trading down. But if Justin Jefferson is staring you in the face at 21 and you don't take him and trade down, that's stupid.
My point being, and I told you guys, I told a couple of you this earlier, for them not to go out and get cheap guys like Robbie Anderson and Rashard Perriman, there is a reason they are drafting somebody with this 21st pick or somebody in the first round. They have to. There has to be a reason. They have nobody on their roster.
Well, I want to flip the question. So, if that was the pick that would make you break things, what pick would basically make you go from 6 to midnight?
Which guy would be the best
pick that could be there when the team picks that you would get very excited about?
Which guy would be the best one?
Realistically, what pick for the Eagles for you would, make you need to adjust your underwear?
CeeDee Lamb.
He's the one out of the three. Yes, I would not be disappointed with Ruggs either.
But how realistic is Lamb?
They'd probably have to
Not
move up.
very.
They'd have to move up to get him. They're not going to get him at 21.
Here's the one thing. Here's the one thing about Ruggs that I have concerns about is, he's never been a Batman. He's always been a Robin. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, those are Batmans.
But Ruggs has a limited route tree too.
True.
Or he hasn't shown his full, he can run every route.
Right, and that's why, some of these mock drafts you're seeing now actually have Ruggs falling to the Eagles at 21. And listen, I'm fine with him. I'm fine with him at 21.
Yeah,
if I can get Wills offensive tackle from Alabama, I'd be elated because I think he's a stud.
Depends how that.
So,
for me, I think if we have a trade to announce, and it turns out that the Cowboys got Jamal Adams for 17 and just like not a total bend over a barrel, I'd be very happy with that. I think he fits them very, very well. I think it's definitely a need. I think if they stay where they are and don't change, I think it's Chase on, but like I have Kinlaw up at 9 to Jacksonville. If Kinlaw were to fall to 17, again, no, he's not a defensive end, but he is a defensive tackle. And you put those guys together, you just got Gerald McCoy, you put this other guy next to him, and now you're building up a defensive line. And you may have deficiencies at secondary, but if you're getting to the quarterback, it hides them a little bit better.
It's funny you brought up those two scenarios because the mock draft I did for us here at Sports Box, I said to you, I actually have Javon Kinlaw falling to 17 and Dallas drafting him. And in the mock draft that I did for our friends over at All Everything Entertainment, I had Dallas trading 17 and 51 for Jamal Adams.
I would do that.
Yeah.
I don't love it. Don't get me wrong. A 1 and 2 is not a cheap price to get it done.
That's the fair price. That's probably what it's going to be.
Here's the thing, and I've been saying this for the Cowboys' timeline is not that long. And that's exacerbated by losing Travis Frederick right now. That tells you. Tyron Smith is not going to play forever.
Right.
So, you need to get the players in there that can win right now before. Dak's going to get a deal, and this is not rocket science, right? So you're going to be paying all this money to your running back. You need to win while the running back's effective. You just paid the wide receiver. There's a thought maybe they get rid of him in 2 years once a lot of the guaranteed money goes out, and he gets what he wants. So their window ain't that big. So that's why if you get an established guy like Adams, I'm okay with that. It just depends what you pay. Don't get bent over. Don't do a Roy Williams, a 1 and a 3. For a guy, I guess I really can't say that. Roy Williams sucked, but this was fine. If that's what it takes, it's a plug-and-play guy who fits right away, makes your defense much better. I would do it. But the worst thing would be, it's just if it's like a 1 and a 1 next year, I'm out. I don't.
Yeah. That's a little pricey.
Yeah. And for that reason, I'm out.
Right.
Yes. Shark Tank, baby.
I'm going to go away from the Jamal Adams trade talk, but my ideal would be for the Cowboys to trade down and take McKinney, just staying in the draft pick realm. Because I think, like I said, I think that's a great fit for them. Clinton Dix is only on a 1-year contract. Let's get somebody in there to kind of to learn from. But they have to trade down and do it. If they take him at 17, I'd live with it. But ideally, trading down and getting more value and still getting McKinley, if they're at the spot. The two guys that I would really hope to draft would be C.J. Henderson falling down there or Javon Kinlaw.
All right. Well, Mike, I'll let you close it out, but I guess we'll see you all. Hopefully we see you all on Thursday for first round Sports Box show. We'll have more of us on here, I believe, although people tell me they're going to
3 hours and 37 minutes.
Listen, we dropped not only do we have an awesome guest, a ton of information, everybody.
Yeah, we got 6 guys on now. I think that might be 5 of them might be us. But now, whoever out there still watching us, thank you for watching. We appreciate Michael Pittman Sr. coming on tonight and giving us some some good stuff, having some fun with him. We'll get him back on the show at a later date. But to all our Sports Box fans out there, keep an eye out. Obviously, Thursday, 8 o'clock. Be with us again. have some animated stuff for the Thursday. I'm sure when the Bucks pick at 14, I'll probably be animated, but that's all right. But check us out. We're good time. We'll have some great commentary. So
at least you won't be here to like do damage to my home if it goes
exactly.
wrong.
I'll probably just wreck my house somewhere. So yeah. So
thanks everybody for
guys,
watching.
thank you. Have a
We'll
good
see
night.
you
See you on Thursday.
Thursday.
Yep. See ya.